This is Jocko Podcast number 464 with Echo Charles and me, Jocko Willink. Good evening, Echo.
Good evening.
So we do an event at Echelon Front. It's called the FTX,
Sure.
Field Training Exercise.
Sure.
And it's a simulated combat event. And what we do is we take a bunch of people from a wide variety of backgrounds, from like the finance world, the energy world, just any type of business. We also will have usually some law enforcement. We'll have some military, but then it'll be salespeople and construction people, whatever. And we give them some like rudimentary tactical training. And then we put them into missions. Like I said, simulated combat. Usually in urban combat. So there's houses and buildings that need to be cleared and people that need to be communicated with and hostages that need to be rescued. And the missions are chaotic. We'll put them out with some task, and then we've got role players. The role players are, former SEALs or former Marines or former Army guys. And so they'll be really good and they'll get hostile, and there's smoke and there's gunfire and there's screaming and there's yelling and confusion. And we'll watch this group, and the training is not for the tactics of the training. It's for leadership. It's to see how people respond in these chaotic situations. And it's what these people get to experience. And what they get to experience is a massive amount of pressure. Their emotions are running high. They get like tunnel vision. They get adrenaline overload. They panic. They yell and scream. And what we get to see, and what they get to see, is like a comprehensive breakdown of a team. Mm-hmm. And they get to learn from that. And each individual will feel that. And everyone's going to struggle. Just about everyone will go into some kind of brain lock at some point, like where they just freeze up. Some people just go full meltdown at some point. And it's hard. And there's been some of the initial runs that we do, some of the initial iterations can be so chaotic, and the people can perform so poorly that a few times I'll catch myself wondering, is this too much? Like, are we doing things that no human can actually handle? And sometimes I'll be thinking that, and while I was at one of these events, one of these field training exercises at Echelon Front, and I was watching these two gentlemen, these two guys, and they're just unfazed. And there's chaos, and there's mayhem, and there's people freaking out and yelling and screaming and not knowing what to do, and deer in the headlights, the whole 9 yards. And these two dudes are just calm, cool, and collected, but also engaged. They're making things happen. They're not just doing their assigned jobs, but they're picking up. They're taking security. They're leading little teams. And I'd actually never seen anyone perform like this at one of our FTXs. And here's these two guys. And I knew something was going on. So I walk over to JP, because JP, he's running the whole FTX program, and they have bios on everyone. I was like, hey, JP, what's up with these freaking two guys over here that are like holding security cover and moving, making things happen? And he smiles, and he's like, those guys are Estonian Special Operations Soldiers, and they deployed to Afghanistan. One's an officer, the other one's a senior enlisted guy, and they actually follow the principles that we teach. And we talked to him about it. And I looked at these guys. I was like, yeah, they sure do. And that right there was the beginning of a relationship that we now have with these two men and their company. Their company is called Combat Ready. And Combat Ready is a company in Estonia, and they represent Echelon Front, and they partner with Echelon Front in Europe. They teach the same principles that we teach, and they help leaders in every realm, in every different type of business, lead and win. And it's an honor to have one of those men, Remo Ojaste. Actually, it's Remo Ojaste, here with us tonight to share his experiences and lessons learned. Remo, thanks for joining us. Ojaste. I got it right the second time?
Yeah, almost.
Oh, let's hear it for real then.
Remo Ojaste.
So you have to roll the R, huh? Remo Ojaste.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, some people just say Remo. I don't really care.
Style points with the R.
Yeah,
Remo.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Estonia real quick. Give us the basics on Estonia. It's located on the Baltic Sea. You got Sweden to the west, Latvia to the south. It's a pretty small population.
Yep, 1.3 million.
1.3 million.
Finland to the north. Big Bear to the east.
Yeah, and a big bear to the east. So you got Russia as well, and you've had to contend with Russia for your whole existence. It's a pretty flat place. Like, what's the highest peak? It's like several hundred feet or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
380 meters. I don't know how much that is in feet. It's a hill.
Yeah, that is a hill. A bunch of lakes and islands.
Yep, we have over 2,000 islands. Latvians have 0. Dang. So we won.
People speak Estonian. That's the language there. You've had a bunch of wars there, and you've been occupied and reoccupied multiple times. You fought the Estonian War of Independence against the Soviets and the Baltic German forces. 1918 to 1920. In 1940, there was Soviet occupation. In 1941 to 1944, there was German occupation. Some Estonians fought for the Germans against the Soviets. Of course, there was people that fought against both the Nazis and the Russians. In 1944, Estonia was absorbed into the Soviet Union and then spent many years as part of the Soviet Union. And then 1988 to 1991, you aggressively had what's known as the singing revolution.
Yep. People sang themselves free.
How'd that work?
Well, I mean, it was a good setup, I would say. And then it just was a matter of people starting singing. Like, there was a Baltic chain from one side of Estonia until Lithuania. So many 100 kilometers, people were just holding hands and just showing that we want to be free. Mm-hmm. And then there was a singing square and people went and sang. So I would say it's like more of a symbol when things started to go in the right direction. But that was one of the times when we were able to start singing Estonian songs. People went crazy in that sense. We gathered 100,000 people. So yeah.
And luckily at the time, I mean, the Soviet Union was falling apart. So it was kind of really good timing. And then showing that the Estonian people wanted to be free. And that's very interesting that the songs were suppressed. These old songs were suppressed. And so then they came back and caught the spirit. Now, you were born in the Soviet.
Yeah.
In the Soviet Union, I guess.
89.
In 1989.
Yep.
And what'd your parents do?
So they pretty much worked. So mother was like most of the time, like in Soviet area, everyone had to go to some sort of a skill school. My mother went, I think, learned some gardening. Mm-hmm. So they were like from the countryside. My father, I actually have no idea what he learned. Mm-hmm. But eventually he was a builder. So he did all of that stuff. Initially during the Soviet times, my parents did some illegal stuff, as everyone in the 90s. So I remember that we were selling vodka, or like illegal vodka, cigarettes, gas. So we were like living next to a Russian airfield. Like there was a military base there. And as you understand, like at that time, everyone was corrupt. So I don't know how my mother figured out or my father figured out that, hey, we could actually get the gas with a good price from the soldiers. Then I know that they hold it in a small building, and then they sold gas out of it to people. So like everyone was doing it pretty much, and we were able to kind of gather a lot of resources. But that was what everyone was doing. Everyone was stealing. Everyone was trying to get by, so everyone pretty much got after it. And so
that was in the 90s. That was after.
Yeah, it was in the beginning of 90s. Yeah.
Okay, so it was like freedom, and we were trying to figure out what to do with all this freedom.
Yeah. So because as I remember, so it was more maybe in the middle of the 90s, but yeah, it was wild. I mean, in the beginning when we got independent, like everyone like just tried to figure out what to do because now we have this freedom. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of opportunity in that sense to do different type of things. And people just started doing whatever was in front of them. And they just made the thing happened. My mother, she also like I don't know, she was a scammer in the best way. Like she had some like letter friends, so you're sending like postcards.
Oh yeah, we call that a pen pal.
Yeah, pen pal. Yeah, exactly. So she, for whatever reason, had a pen pals in Germany. I don't know how that ever happened, but and then as they didn't have much money, because like we did all of that illegal stuff and get money, but my father liked gambling. So he went out and like destroyed all the fortune, so to say. So and then eventually my mother there was like whatever, like there was no money, so there was like a lot of like this, I don't know, piece of paper. You go there and you get the ratio of milk or whatever.
Okay.
So and she figured out that, hey, I'm going to collect German marks, like German money. And she wrote to the pen pal.
Yeah, pen pal. Yeah.
And like, hey, I don't have this type of money in my collection. And then those pen pals started sending her money. And obviously she didn't collect them. So she just made those into money, and that's how we get by during hard times. So yeah, you have to innovate a lot. So.
And then what about, was there any military history in your family that you knew about?
Yeah, so not in like I didn't like see anyone. There was like one uncle who went to the military, but my both grandfathers or great grandfathers actually, they both stayed in the Second World War. One fought on the both sides. Like we were really proud that they killed Soviet guys. Then we were proud that they killed Nazis. So nobody really knows what happened. It's like just legends about them. But the fact is that they stayed there. And all the grandparents, they lived through the Second World War. They lived through the portion, or departing them, sending to Siberia. So they were like super hard people. Like my grandfather, he eventually, like, I think he lived until like 70, and he was like farming or treating animals. And like when he was like 70, he got a stroke while he was like farming. Then what he did, he just sat down for 5 minutes and then continued. And that was the like attitude of those dudes, like just hard people doing hard things, living through tough times. So
your uncle, so he must have been in the Soviet army.
Yeah, there was one uncle who went to Soviet army. He so how, like, every man had to, during the Soviet time, every man had to serve Soviet army, either 2 years in the army or 3 years in the Navy. And usually the people were sent very far away from their home. And in a case of my uncle, so there was in the city where I lived, there was like a restaurant. My father had a birthday, and as there was no possibility to sing any Estonian songs, because pretty much like you had local people, and some of them were on a communist side, so they were like looking, okay, who is here, who doesn't like this system. And
they're rats.
Yeah.
And that's the way that these communist system works, is that there's rats that live amongst the people.
Exactly. And then there was a birthday, and obviously they like drinking, so they started drinking. And then at some point my uncle started singing Estonian like songs, and about freedom, about our land, about our sea. And then just one dude didn't like it. And then whoever the rat was, he said, I know where you will going. You will be going to Afghanistan. And that's where where he went. What he specifically did there, I have no idea. Because every time when we had conversation with him, he kind of talked like he was part of every legend. Every legend that there was out there, he was there. He was the one who survived. Everyone else in the platoon was like cut, and their throats were cut. He was the one who survived. Then there was sniper shooting. He survived again. Like, he had all of those stories. And once there was like a really funny thing. We went to my countryside with one of my friends who wasn't in the military, and we were doing some stuff over there. And then they went to the barn, and obviously he liked vodka, so they started drinking there. And I was just doing something else. And eventually I went back. What the hell are they doing? I went there. Like, they were crying. I was like, okay, what's going on? And then I started listening.
So these are friends
Like
yours.
Yeah, one of my friends
are now crying, but they were talking to your uncle.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, and they were crying. I was like, okay, what are you guys crying about? It's like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, I was in the situation where everyone was killed. I was survived. Then I saw dead babies, and like there was like this tremendous stories, which you can see it's total bullshit. But this guy didn't understand, so he believed it. So he was a great storyteller, and he was like just talking all the legends, and this guy was crying. I was like, okay, let him enjoy it. And next day I told him, hey, all of what you heard is bullshit. So yeah, that was the connection with the military.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy. And then you think about, I mean, it's a little fast forward, but your uncle, at least in some aspect, fought against the jihadists over in Afghanistan, who were at the time supported by America.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then fast forward however many years, you were over there fighting against the jihadists who were no longer supported by America. As a matter of fact, you were fighting with the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So
we had a couple of guys who actually fought on the Soviet time, and then they were still in Estonian army, and then now they fought on the NATO side. So we have those dudes as well, and those are like really tough guys. Like everyone went to the army, and it was hard. Yeah. Like because there was like a lot of beating up. There's a lot of figuring out how to survive. So all of the people who went through it, they either broke or break, or they came out pretty tough. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, the Russian army is, for lack of a better word, is just straight like tyrannical abuse of the soldiers.
Yeah, it's like a prison.
That's what they do. Yeah. As you're growing up, I know you were telling me that you had like grandparents in the countryside and grandparents in the city. Mm-hmm. So you got a little bit of both worlds.
Yeah. So yeah, I had like an awesome childhood in that way that like on the countryside, there was like 9 children. So like if you go there, like there's no rules because those grandparents, they utilize decentralized command, as we say, like everyone has to get by themselves. So if you went there's no rules. You can do whatever you want. You can go out hiking. You can go wherever. You go do other stupid things. Now, when you go to city, you had to be at home by 8. Like morning, you had to wake up at certain time. So there's like 2 opposite worlds. One was like super disciplined. Otherwise, like total freedom. So I saw the dichotomy there a lot. And but it was both good sides. Like my grandfather, who was on the city side, like he was the man. Like he was really someone to look up to because when he was deported to Siberia, then obviously like he took ownership of everything. He didn't blame. Like he went there. Oh, it sucks. So what do we do now? We started building life here. So they started building houses where they could live, and eventually he started doing sports. And then there was like this story where like, at least based on what his friends like were saying on his funeral, that like we were walking in Siberia, and then we are just hearing someone cursing in Estonian in a garage somewhere. Like what the hell is that? Someone is cursing in Estonian here. And then they went there, and there was one dude who was fixing his bike and just going at it with curses. And then said, "What are you doing here?" I'm just fixing my bike here. I want to like I'm going to the competition. So like, okay, we have actual club here. Maybe you can join. And said, yeah, okay, let's do it together. You're Estonians, no problem. And eventually, what happens is that he became the Far East Siberian champion in bike riding. Like he had full like box full of gold medals. Then when he returned to Estonia, after there was a possibility to go back home at some point, like when you did your time. And then he became skiing champion of Estonia. Then someone gave him a gun, and then he was skiing and shooting. He became a champion of that. So whatever he did, he became a champion. And then eventually, when he retired, he worked 40 years in the factory, driving a forklift. And that's kind of like that bizarre world worked. Like people did amazing things, and then they came in and just did one thing.
That's the standard the kind of a holdover from the Soviet Union, where that's your job, that's your life, this is what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were like, they had a lot of money, but there's nothing to do with money. Like, there's nothing you can buy. There's nothing to buy, but you have a lot of rubles. Like, awesome. What do we do with that? Nothing.
And then for you, so where were you living when you're actually like the rest of the year? It's not summertime. You're just going to school. You're with your parents. What was that?
Yeah.
Where was that? Yeah.
So I was living in a edge of the city, and like we had a studio apartment, 1 room, 1 kitchen. Like everyone was living in 1 room. So I didn't have any brothers or sisters. So we made it happen in that sense. But it was a tiny place because government was giving apartments to people, and that's what we got, I guess. And then, so yeah, from there on, like my parents kind of put me, or my mother wanted me to learn English, so she put me to a school where it supposedly was harder. Like I have always said that I'm not special at all, but apparently there was some tests. And for whatever reason, I passed some of them. And then I got into the class where like the language was the main thing. We had to learn English in the 2nd grade, in the 4th grade, German, Russian in the 6th. And in the high school, you get France or French. I knew none of those languages.
The only one that stuck is English?
Yeah, only.
What about Russian?
Like I understand some of it, but if you don't practice it, you like lose it. But yeah, I can handle it, but I couldn't have like real conversation. Like we couldn't do this, not at all.
What about sports?
So yeah, I liked sports. So my grandfather was a sportsman. My father was a sportsman. Like obviously he was also doing some sports, and he was pretty successful on a city level. But I guess he found drinking at some point and crime. So that was his way out from the sports. But he put me to play basketball, soccer. So I started always like with the team sports, and I really enjoyed it because I don't know, for whatever reason, I always loved when there was a lot of people and we can compete with each other, and when we do something together, we win. So. But the problem with that was always that every summer I was sent to the countryside. So there was no access to anything. So I kind of like missed every year 3 months from the training. I still kind of did okay, but still there was no consistency of that. So I liked the sports. I did some, what's they called? Like running, not marathons, but 100 meters, 60 meters.
Like track and field.
Yeah, all of those things we had to compete. So I was like doing that. I was like always in the top 5 or whatever. So yeah, that was what I did with sports. Eventually became like Estonian champion in basketball.
In basketball?
Yeah.
Dang, okay.
But like 13, 14. I mean, like no big deal. Then in soccer we became 4th. Or something like that. So every team where I was able to be, I was somewhere in the middle, a gray mass.
And what about like educationally in school? Is there in the 80s and 90s in America, it was like everyone was pushing go to college. I guess they maybe still are pushing like everyone has to go to college. They shouldn't be, but at the time when I was growing up, it was like everyone needs to go to college. Everyone needs to go to college. Was there that push for you guys?
Yeah, it was always a push from my parents because they didn't go to university. So the mainly was like, that's the only way to get, I don't know, smart, I guess, or whatever. Even though that they were like getting after it on a entrepreneurial level and doing crime and other stuff. So that was the success. But I mean, yeah, it was always like that.
So did they just maintain like a low level crime where they avoided
there was
like
different things.
Interaction with the mob?
Yeah,
you must have mob. Yeah, you have organized crime there.
So my father definitely had something to do with them because at some point my father went and worked in Russia, so they were like bringing over, I don't know, stuff that we don't have here. They were selling those things. I know that there was some things about drugs, but those are like drunken stories, so I haven't confirmed. They were like they were doing all the things, whatever the things would be.
But somehow they gave you the impression that that's not the best path to be on.
No, not really. Like,
Oh, they didn't give you that impression.
no.
You was just like, hey, this is a good way to make money.
That was just regular part of life.
Mm-hmm.
Just that was normal. Like everyone was doing it.
So the next door neighbors, they were also doing their scam and their deals, and so that was just how everyone was living at the time.
Exactly. That was the world. That was like our entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That was it was. Yeah.
So when you're going to school, are you trying hard? You're trying to get into college? That whole thing?
No. So I mean, until like 9th grade, like I was doing good.
Mm-hmm.
Because of my father did like to drink and like to party. Then was some mess at home all the time. Then I kind of like felt like, okay, I'm not drinking at all or whatever. So my first drink was in the 9th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And when I tasted that nectar, I never went back.
So wait a second. You had decided after watching your dad drink too much, you're like, I'm not drinking.
Yeah.
Until you were 14. And then you're like, oh, I'm in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was like my first time. Is like I straight went to vodka. And people had to like drag me to the toilet.
Jeez.
That was the first experience. But I mean, we were like, yeah. And then everything kind of started. I started to learn what it feels like or whatever, and then it became cool. But my parents never figured it out because I always kept it. I was like always sneaky in some way.
Oh, they never figured out that you were drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think my mother figured out it when I was like 19. They're like, "You're drinking?" Like, yeah, for 10 years. So yeah, and that's kind of started to introduce me to that, and then eventually like. I kind of ended up in places where I hanged around with older dudes.
Mm-hmm.
So they were cool, they were drinking. And yeah, that's what I learned. I learned from their example.
And are you still going to school, but now you're hanging out and drinking and just kind of being a juvenile delinquent is what we would call that in America?
Yeah, so yeah, I was drinking, and then I still get to the high school. So gymnasium, it's not like a school where you can get a profession, because there's like two ways. Like you can get the profession, I don't know, you learn to chef, or you're kind of prepared to go to university. Mm-hmm. So I got to go to the school which was like preparing to go to university. So 0 skills taught. And during that time, we were so bored that we started playing cards. And we had this one game where as a like at the countryside, what did people do at the Soviet time? They just played cards. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of had a knack to it, or I don't know, for whatever reason again, it kind of worked out for me. And then we started playing like, okay, who gets the most wins in this game gets a box of beer. Mm-hmm. So we played one like quarter, and I got like 80 wins. Second place had like 36. I was like, okay, I have the beer. So
what game were you playing?
It's called Potik Night.
Okay,
I mean,
that's cool. We'll go with the Estonian word.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
all good.
I have no idea what it's in English. I don't know if that most likely there is a like maybe spades or something like that. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But it's a skill game. Like you can read cards. You can have a strategy. So if you play with a person who understands the rules, you can beat them. Mm-hmm. Like there is certain amount of understanding, like how to beat the other person. But it's not like a lucky game. Mm-hmm. But eventually, like next quarter, we figured, okay, let's do it again. But everyone understands what the results will be, so it became boring. So then I thought, okay, what could be the new game? And then I went out home and figured out, hey, it should be poker. And then I brought in papers with poker rules, and then we started playing poker in like 10th grade at school, which is like legit, right? And then we like had this like coins, which everyone brought, and then we started playing it everywhere. Then eventually we bought the chip case. Mm-hmm. Then we kind of started putting in, okay, you put 25 kroons, you can put like it's like $10. Mm-hmm. And winner takes all. And then I figured that, hey, what if I cheated? Then I went into, at that time, like as you can remember, like the internet was like really slow. So, but there was a lot of access to like illegal stuff again, like stuff that is not available. So there were like access to that, and you downloaded a video of how to cheat in poker. It took like a week to download, maybe, I don't know, 10 megabytes or something. But eventually when I got it, then I started looking at it and I started playing around it. I really, for whatever reason, liked it. So I became pretty good at sleight of hand. And then I went to those poker nights, and guess what? I started winning. And nobody understood why I was winning. But I was cheating. That was the reason. But then eventually, like, we ended up with those dudes we went to a bar. And then we saw that there were some other dudes playing cards. And they were already like university. I was like 16, 17. And then there was other dudes who had done it. Like, they were like 21 plus. And they started playing. And obviously I thought, okay, I will jump into that table. And then we started playing. And then for the next 4 months, every day I went to play pool. Or at least that was what I told to my parents. And in reality, I was playing poker in the back rooms with some of the adults. Continued doing cheating. I was successful in it. Nobody understood it. But then I realized also that it's a skill game and you can make money. And eventually, like, one thing led to another. I eventually, like, cashed out, like, I don't know, in the next 2 years while I was in high school, about 50,000 euros.
Dang.
And at that time, it was worth like an apartment. So, yeah, I made more money than my parents and everything like that just because I liked card game. And eventually, like, as my father had that gambling issue, I never wanted to raise that, hey, I'm making money with poker, because I thought that they will never believe me. But eventually, I kind of had, like, I never asked any pocket money. And like, okay, so most likely they will start thinking that I'm like selling drugs or something. I'm doing the business that they did. So eventually, like, I showed them the evidence that, hey, it's monthly coming in like right way. So there is no, like, and all the other guys who are playing, they are university, like, educated. So they're smart. And I'm like, oh, makes sense. Go on. And then I just pretty much moved out. And but yeah, that was pretty much what I did in the high school. I just eventually, because I started making so much money, I went to school on Tuesday. And I pretty much started my weekend on Thursday. And as the weekend went so long on Sunday, I never get to school on Monday. So that was pretty much my school. I really didn't go there, but I still passed all of my grades. It didn't take much to me to get like B's or C's.
So then what came after that? Did you end up going to college?
Yeah, because I was forced. Like, my mother said, hey, you have to have an education. So I said, okay, so what do you want me to learn? Like, she's like, okay, let's go and learn economics or business, finance, leadership or something like that. Like, yeah, finance management. So I get in there. And obviously what I did, again, I just played poker.
More poker.
Yeah, no more poker. And then I was like sitting around, like I had one like school sister from the school. She was my like neighbor. And there was like a bunch of other girls around me who were studying hard, everything. And I was like playing poker, getting my C's and B's without much of effort. And they were like mad all the time because they get the same grades what I got. But I just ran through it. And what kind of ended it to me was that I forgot to sign a paper, which kind of gives you an extension that you can like postpone your conscript service or mandatory military service after you've done your studies. So by that time, initially as a young guy, I really like actually before I entered the poker, like actually liked military stuff for whatever reason. Now, as I got so much money, I was like, fuck that military stuff. I don't need it anymore. But then it was like, okay, I had no choice. So I decided, okay, I will go and try it after the first year because otherwise it will be harder to finish it after I do a break after the second year. So as I forgot to sign the paper, I just had to go.
And everyone's going. It's mandatory for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they must have it down to a pretty good system of how long is like the boot camp indoctrination and all that. So
you can have two choices. Like if you end up in a leadership position, like a squad leader or a platoon leader, then it's 11 months. If you're like a specialist, like a machine gunner or a driver, or actually if you're a machine gunner, or just a shooter, then it's 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So for whatever reason, again, I was sent to 11 months, which means that I'm on a course of either getting driver's license or becoming a squad leader. So, but the boot camp is pretty much same. It's like 3 months of Sackfest. That's what it is.
How much is left over from the Soviet military, or did they weed that out pretty
Nothing.
good?
Yeah, nothing. It was like in the beginning of like 2000s, but I went in like 2009 or 2008 and 9. So, sorry, 2009 and 10. By that time, there was nothing. But the previous years, like 2000, like it was stupid. Like they were like doing backflips and breaking breaking wood with their hands, jumping out from the cars that are moving, breaking their legs, screaming each other, beating each other. So that was the army initially. So did that kind of start to disappear as Estonia started to work with the Western militaries? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It started
that had to be unique for like the first Americans or Brits that showed up with these freaking borderline Russian dudes that are hitting each other in the head with blocks and stuff like this.
Because the transition was that the people who were in Soviet Union or in the army, they kind of became the only people who knew anything about army. So who do you take? So you put those guys in the army, but they come with the wrong mindset, and that's a disaster. So
you had a bunch of money. Now you go in the army, and it's a suck fest. But for some reason, you like it.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I was also like overweight. Like maybe like whatever it's like 180 pounds. So
this is vodka and like
good lifestyle. Yeah, eating pizza
and vodka,
playing poker, right? So that's not a great. But at the same time, I went to MMA training. I did some jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. But that really lasted only for a year, and then I had to go to the army. So in reality, I was the guy who you see in the movie who is always left behind, like in the back. And then some people have to come and push you. That was my first month.
What do they do? Like, let's say you got a person that just doesn't want to be in the army, and he doesn't care. He's a conscript. He doesn't want to serve his 2 years, much less 1 year. Doesn't want to be there for 1 month. So he's just going to not try. What do they do with that guy?
They will just make them do it. And pretty much there are ways out. I mean, they will figure out the fake injury, all that kind of stuff. But in reality, like, they have no choice. They just go through it. They just have to suck it up pretty much. And yeah.
So then what's your first job once you get done with your training? And what'd you say your training was, to be a squad leader?
Yeah, initially it's just boot camp. There's no profession. You just go through the basics. You get to learn how to shoot. Maybe you shoot. At that time, you shot like, 30 shots in 3 months. So you get to know how to shoot for sure.
Yeah.
So then you do those like long hikes. So you just basic soldier skills. That's what it is all about. But during that time, you get the regime. You start waking up early. You go bed early. So you get 8 hours of sleep every day. But there's like night drills. So it's like a mayhem. And so by the end of the 3 months, I lost all of my weight. And I was in shape. So now I was on top of it. Like I was in top 5. And I started to enjoy it for whatever reason. Because like you do certain things and things start to happen. So it kind of makes sense. And then all of my previous memory from the childhood, when I was going to the forest and playing America's Army, I was like...
What's America's Army?
America's Army had a game. I guess it's for recruiting purposes. And it was just a like shooting game, like Call of Duty.
Like a video game?
Yeah, like Call of Duty.
Echo Charles, confirm? No idea?
Yeah, never heard of that one.
Yeah.
America's
but
Army.
it was made by the American government?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it recruited your ass.
Yeah. So I played 2,000 hours of that.
Damn.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and then I switched that to playing poker.
Okay.
Because I already had a good attitude, discipline of playing or sitting behind the computer. But yeah, then pretty much I kind of, for whatever reason, like got reminded what I felt when I was young. And I was like, okay, fuck that university stuff. This is for me now. And then the same dude that we established Combat Ready with, he was already an officer. He was a company, 2IC in a company. And he was like legit guy, like tall, strong. And he apparently had just passed the selection to the Special Forces.
Mm-hmm.
But as it was such a new thing, nobody wanted to let go of the good guys.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So they tried to hold the people down. They will not let them go. But he kind of gave a brief that, hey, there is this unit, cool American pictures, people with night vision, that, hey, these are the best of the best. They will pay you a lot of money. All of that was a lie, of course. And just the recruitment stuff. And then I went to his office and here, I want to try. Even though I kind of never thought that I would pass, but I was still I had a huge ego that at least told me that, hey, I will try. So yeah, that was kind of setting me on a way where, okay, if I get there, I maybe even want to be part of the army. So that's where I understood that I like it. Then I was eventually sent to the NCO. So the first 3 months is basic soldier skills. Then the next 2 months is squad leader training. Mm-hmm. And that's an extensive, really good training. And I was fortunate because at that time, we were already been in Afghanistan for, 4 or 5 years. Mm-hmm. And we have a scouts battalion, which is one of the only battalions that actually is deployed, professional army. And so as I was in an engineering battalion, there were 2 dudes who came back from Afghanistan, and they were put to be the leaders of the NCO, or the junior NCOs. So they came in and they started teaching us the real shit. So the level of training, what we got was super high level.
And this was in the NCO course that you went through?
Absolutely. Okay. So because they were designated, there were two platoons full of NCOs, and they were as the commanders or responsible for each platoon, and they were really legit. They knew what they were saying, and at the same time, 2 guys just got killed in Afghanistan. Obviously, they were their friends. And now we obviously got all the good stuff from those guys because they were mad about the situation. And when we did stupid things, they reminded us that this is for real. And that kind of provided me the foundation for everything. And it was really, really high level, good training.
And that was regular Army.
Yeah.
NCO course.
Conscript service.
And then, so let's talk about the SOF, Estonian SOF. There was they originally tried to form a SOF element years ago under the Military Intelligence Battalion, and it didn't work out. In 1999, they created another SOG force, and apparently a member of the new Special Operations Group attempted an armed robbery with his SOG weapons.
Yep.
And they disbanded the whole unit.
Yep. So yeah, there was we have a National Guard. So our defense is overall built in 2 ways. So we have the Reserve Army, and then we have Volunteer Army. And the Defense League is National Guard. Mm-hmm. And the first try on that was they put together people. What they did, pretty much, they just did cool stuff. So... And whatever reason, they got out of hand. They thought that they are awesome, and as you remember, everyone was doing crime. They thought that they will go and steal money from a dude. The dude was they said that there are either, I don't know which way it was, but it was they wanted to sell a tractor, and then the dude were supposed to come there with, 50,000. And they thought that they will ambush them and take the money. But at that time, those dudes came with guns as well because they know that the like doesn't make any sense when we're moving. And then one guy got shot, so they were not really special in that sense. So they lost, and then all of that was dismantled.
2002, they make another attempt to form another Spec Ops unit. I guess it was it, and then by 2005, they had like a human element, which is human intelligence. They went to Afghanistan 2005. Their mission ended up in 2007. And 2008, Special Operations Task Group is formed. And this is where they start getting trained by U.S. Special Operations Forces, by the guys over in SOCEUR, Special Operations Command Europe. And then by 2010, you guys in Estonia are actually running your own selection course. And is that when you went through?
Yep. So I went through it in 2010. And
so was your course in Estonia?
Yep.
And were your instructors Estonian instructors?
Yep.
Was there Americans? Was there Brits? Was there anybody else? Just pure Estonians?
So it's just like a selection, like just 2 weeks in hell.
Oh, okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay. So you get done with that, and then what comes after that?
So then, first of all, you get through it, you pass it. So we had like 16 guys starting, 3 of us passed.
Damn.
So it's usually...
What was wrong with the other freaking 14 of those dudes or whatever it was?
They just wanted to quit.
Yeah.
But it's like the groups of people are really small. Like
16 dudes and 3 passed.
Yeah. Well, you get incremental attention.
Yeah.
You can imagine.
How many instructors were there?
I don't know, 7, 8.
There's like 2 instructors for every dude at the end.
So there was one.
How do they torture you?
Same way as here.
Do they have cold water for you?
Absolutely.
You got a bunch of lakes.
Everything.
You got 1,000 lakes or whatever.
Everything. Like you get everything. Like it's all kind of torture that you get. No sleep. Like there are a bunch of interesting ideas what they have, what we run. Eventually I was able to run those things myself. But so we have like this, like when you fall asleep and you get caught, then there's like this small toy from Russian area. Like when you screw it up, it starts doing tock, 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 tock. And then it screws down, it stops. Now, for each time you close your eyes, you get 1 hour. You sit behind the table and you have to turn it on. You let it go.
And it goes for like 10 seconds and then you have to do it again.
Then you have to do it again. And there's a camera in front of you who's like watching at you. So you do that. So some people get 10 hours of that. So while other people are sleeping, you go there and you do that. It was like tuck turning. It's a small duck. So and then we have like this dude called Toivo, who is just a like mannequin. Like if you get 2 meters further from your battle buddy, you get that dude on your back everywhere. So there are like some fun things what we do with people. But it's pretty much like the Green Berets selection. It just we don't have much people in terms of the participants. I think the lowest one was 8 people came to the selection. One instance there was 21 starting, only 1 passed.
He was a hard man.
Yeah. So the attrition rate is really high, but the dudes who get through are pretty good.
Yeah. And then so what do you do after that?
So after that, it's like a Q course.
Is it like the Q course, like the Green Beret Q course?
Even
where did you go for that? Still in Estonia?
Yeah. Initially, there's like the preparation course. Then we were sent to Hungary. We did 3 months there, just basic stuff. I mean, it sucked really. And the main reason why it sucked, because sadly it was really bad quality. Because like our conscript service, especially mine, was like really good. And the dudes that we went there, like most of them were like some of them had already deployed. They had gone through real infantry basic training. They were in Afghanistan. They knew how to do things. And now you end up in a place where they are going to do you another basic soldier skills. And sadly, they didn't speak really good English. So, and their teaching methods wasn't really up to speed. So it was just 4 hours of sleep for 2 months. And that if you close your eyes, it's morning and the Suckfest starts again. Mm-hmm. And all of this is not like, it's not physically hard, but it's just mentally so hard because you're looking at it just doing stupid things for so long. We did that part, so it made us like strong in our head, at least. So we did that, and then
either that or super annoyed.
Yeah. So we did that part. That sucked really. And then eventually, there was some issue with Americans and the Hungarians. I don't know, whatever it was, some sort of dispute, because there should be now next phase is MOS. So you're learning your whatever, and then eventually it should have happened like a team training. But the Americans didn't show up for whatever reason, and then our command decided that this is not like logical anymore, because this will continue the same way as it has been. And then we were sent back, and fortunate for us, a new SUT, so small unit tactics camp started, because now there was nobody to send us, because our main idea behind our overall situation was that we need to get NATO qualified, and we need to go a NATO course to get the paper. So all of what we did was 4 papers. So we need to, then eventually there was no people to come in Estonia to train us. So what do we do with dudes? We sent them to school. So then they sent us to the senior NCO school. But before, we had 3 months of free time. And what you do? You take those dudes to the forest and you just do tactics and cover, move, all that kind of stuff. So pretty much half a year straight, we did only the Suckfest stuff. Then you go to the NCO school, and guess what that starts with?
Same stuff
again. So there was 1 year of 9 months of basic training, and you get good. That's the good part about it.
And that was all while you were basically waiting to go to some kind of a NATO qualified Q course of some kind.
Yeah.
And so where'd you end up doing that?
So eventually that took us then about 9 months, I think, in total. So started in 2010, coming back March from Hungary, then in August going to the school. So I think we're 5 months in that school. Then there's MOS. Then I started learning again engineering. So I got the new MOS. And then eventually you can do the practice part in your own battalion. And then we were sent back. And then by that time, we had old school American SF guys who were like bodybuilders.
Yeah.
2 meters tall. like super awesome dudes. And they kind of started to do us the same stuff again, because then we started again.
Damn.
Another SUT.
Yeah.
Another MOS training. Another team build up. So that's what we started again doing. But in that time, we were the only team. So again, ratio.
Is there 8 of you guys or something you said? 6?
Something like that. Let's put it like that. That's a small number. And then what happened is that each MOS, me and the other guy, we got one instructor. And that instructor was, remember JP was his name. And he had 25 years of SOF. He was from Ranger Battalion. He had been in every conflict from whatever time until today.
From World War II.
Yeah, pretty much.
Just a hard old Green Beret dude.
Absolutely. And then they started teaching us how to do explosives, how to do all the other stuff. And then eventually we had the team training, and then we supposedly was ready to kind of get qualified. And then we had qualifications. Then we put together a team, and then we kind of supposed to be ready to go deployed. And
your qualification ended up being engineer?
Yeah.
And did the other guys get normal?
Yeah, same things that we get. Like 18 Bravo, 18 Charlie, 18 Echoes, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, pretty much same. You get different radio man, machine gunner tactics, same stuff.
So now you show up. Are your guys is Estonian SOF already deployed to Afghanistan when you show up there?
So yeah, so pretty much when we got back, I think the first unit went in 2012. So Martin again, he was the first guy in Afghanistan. He was sent there to pretty much set up and figure out where we could be sent. So he had a half a year deployment. Like, okay, go to Afghanistan and figure out where we can go. And he went there, and then he started pulling strings, started building relationships, and eventually we had a province where we could actually go together with the 10th group, I think. And then the first team went there.
And then when did you end up going?
So I ended up going in 2013. So we were like changing them out. And yeah, it was like a Lagman province, pretty much similar situation. Like there was not a lot of freedom of maneuver, freedom to maneuver. Yeah, exactly. So, and it was in the mountains. It was just one valley shaped Y. We were somewhere in the middle, and the local guys obviously wasn't able to accomplish much. But the first team, then they didn't start doing any DA, they didn't do any fancy stuff. They just did what was needed. What they said that, hey, we need to push the bubble to create possibility to start moving. They started utilizing the local ANA and started putting checkpoints, and then they started training the local special forces. And actually in that province, the people that we were able to utilize were pretty good. That's like it's hard to tell that. Usually, like if you say it's pretty good, it's not good, but they were pretty good. And they had their EOD teams, and their like success rate in terms of finding IEDs was 97%. So like when we went out, that it was pretty good.
That's amazing.
Obviously, every day or I don't know, once a week, someone blew up still, but I don't know for whatever reason. There could be half of the times they just blew up because they did something stupid rather than drive on the IED. So they were able to actually establish a really good system. They were able to pass the bubble, and now there was a freedom to move. And when we got there, we pretty much now had the ability to go start getting all of the dirt bags. So we had one dude whose name was Joe Dirt. And yeah, so we started to kind of establish rapport with locals. Like the local unit, initially we kind of started training together to learn each other so that we don't shoot each other. So, and then when you go to the first operation, maybe 1 month in, maybe 1.5 months, like here is a bag, put all of your cell phones here. You take all of the cell phones, and then you tell them where we're going. And then you go out in the night in a random valley with 2 Chinooks, and you start killing bad guys pretty much.
It's interesting. You guys were training for like 4 years of legit infantry and special operations training. You must have been very gratified when you finally got on a Chinook and flew out to go kill bad guys.
Yeah, it was interesting. Like I was the guy sitting on the edge, and then flying in the total darkness. We have like 2 Apaches covering for us, 2 Chinooks. We are going in both of them, like, I don't know, 50 people. And then I'm sitting on the back. We are starting to get closer, and then I just watch out from there and see like tracers flying. I was like, okay, now I understand where I am. Then when we land, like I didn't take any of my, what is it? The goggles that you hide. I went there. All of my eyes were full of sand. So, and then I hear like the Apaches are singing already. They are sending some hellfires to the mountains or whatever.
And this is your first op, huh?
Yeah, that's the
and
first
are you
op.
with like a bunch of Afghan?
Yeah, we had like
nationals, and then how many of you guys?
It was like I think it was 7 Estonians and 5 Americans. And then about, 80 locals. Nighttime, in the middle of nowhere. And it was funny. Like, we initially were supposed to get the special forces helicopter guys, the whatever they are. Like,
160th?
Yeah. And obviously there was a higher priority somewhere, so we didn't get that. And then eventually we got regular, I guess, army guys, and they put us 1 click away in the middle of the valley. And then what we had to start doing is getting closer to the target area, wherever the Shura was. And that was fun because there was like, the mountain was on that side and there was like this ridge lines this ridge lines coming down. So we went over the first one and I was like, okay, that's fucking sucks. And you look at the locals, like they have their dress on, they're just chilling.
AK-47 and a few mags or whatever.
And then you get on the bottom of that and you look at the next one. Holy fucking shit. You go up there, you go down, and you're like, next one. Then you're on top of the third one.
So this is your first op.
Yeah.
And you're done 3
ridge line. Yeah, exactly. And then by the time I was down on the third one, my legs were so full of blood that they just didn't, like, no steps up. So what we did is that we did a chain and we just pulled each other up because that's how fucking bad the legs were. Obviously, we had all the 6 plates in it. All the ammunition was with me. I had like 5 kilograms of explosives in the back. I had everything. Only thing what I didn't have was water. So we get on top of the fourth one. And they were like, okay, we can't go further anymore because we're already dead.
Like everyone's crushed.
Yeah, everyone's crushed. And then, as I was the last guy of Estonians, they're like, oh, other Estonians are already down there. Go and link up with them. I'll say, okay, let's go. Like, I just go down random place, down the hill, and then I link up in a random corner and say, okay, other Estonians are here at least. Very good. Now we start moving. So our idea was like, there was like mayhem going on, and then we had to go and confirm if we get the Joe Dirt, right? We had the dude with a mask on. We didn't know who he was. He was supposed to be the guy who was actually confirming the dude. And then we had maybe half of the Afghans with us. And then Afghans at some point said that, hey, we don't want to go first anymore. Our Zulu, who was for our Zulu, Team Sergeant, he was third deployment in Afghanistan.
Is this Estonian guy or an American guy?
Estonian guy. Yeah, he was in charge of the lead element. The officers, they stayed on top, and now all NCOs just going in there just to confirm. And then our guy said, okay, so Estonians go first then, because we need to move. We are not going to stay here. Because I guess the Afghans, they didn't like to use their night vision or whatever. Whatever the reason was, they didn't want to go first. So the first kind of street, or first kind of where there's just 2 50-meter walls, no doors, no nothing, just a corridor. It's like, oh yeah, that's a great place to go from. So yeah, we just took a leap of faith, started going, nothing happened, then went on and on and on. We eventually get to a place where the alleged bodies were, because I think the Apaches, they already had killed 11, and we just went there to pretty much confirm. So I was put in one position to pull cover, and then people piled to the right, and then our dudes they found the body. And now, how do you get the picture? You take out your camera and you start taking a picture. Now what happens? There's a flash.
Yeah, well,
now, as the flash goes off, there is a machine gun fire coming from a random direction.
Ooh.
And so then the mayhem started. Bullets are flying over my head. I have no fucking clue what's happening. First time in a contact. Okay, that's interesting. That's an interesting feeling. So now I heard that they say that they're in contact. Now there's shots fired. But then the officers or the HQ who stayed on top of the mountain, they don't understand or they don't hear anything. So I'm okay, So should I become a relay now, or what should I do? So I just say contact into my direct radio as well. So now they got it. Then the next thing in 5 minutes is that, okay, now we have wounded in action. Someone is wounded. So now I have that information to relay. I will continue that. Now they are in panic on the HQ there because it's for first real op. And then next thing is like, okay, Apache, we have only like 7 minutes left of Apache airtime. So Apache would like to start shooting someone. But as the only ones who have the blinkers are Estonians and one American, then we don't know where to shoot because there are a lot of Afghans, and where they are, we have no idea. So then I started like having a conversation through radio with those dudes to figure out, hey, are they in line? Are they in right place? Now at the same time, I had this amazing equipment. So we had this night vision goggles where in front you can put a thermal sight, but if the thermal sight's battery goes out, it's black.
Good.
Nothing.
Sounds awesome.
So at the same time, all of that is going on, and I'm like doing my job and figuring out, then obviously black. Then it's like, oh, this is getting only better. Then I I ask the guy next to me to take over in terms of this position. I change my battery. I coordinate that, yes, all of the dudes are out from the way. I relay that information, and then on top of me, Apache started singing towards whatever compound. After that, everything was silent. And now our team sergeant, understanding that, hey, we just climb over 4 mountains. We have been now, 2 clicks into the city in a random place where we have no idea where we are. It's our first operation. And then he decides that, hey, okay, let's just fall back. So pretty much who got wounded, it was one of the Terps. His like fingers were shot off or something. And then we just started going back.
Did you get Joe dirt?
No, absolutely
idea.
Nothing.
Of course,
No.
Yeah.
And then we started going back, and the dude who brought us there, he came to me. He was just there in the epicenter. Like, I have no idea where the fuck we are. Can you lead us back to the beginning? I said, I saw how fucked up he was. I said, yes, no problem. I had no idea where we are. Just started going in one direction and figuring out the way. So I started to be a pointman. So I pointed us back to that hill. We eventually somehow got to the place where we came from. We climbed up to the mountain, and then we were like, so yeah, I wonder, do we now have to climb back over all of those mountains and then get the helicopter to pick us up? Like, we would rather stay here and fight for whatever amount of days, because we are not capable of doing that. And obviously then magic happened. There's like 2 Chinooks came. They were hovering, and we were running into the Chinooks, and then we got back. And I guess we had like 3 people captured. I don't know who they were. I have no idea what we did, because it was my first time. I had no fucking understanding of what's going on. But all of those things happened, and which was like really fun. Like when I've like talked about those experiences, that like all the laws of combat were just utilized on the first operation. And why I was able to do all of those things, because of our training. Like that 9 months of like training paid off. Because like it was all cover move, it was keeping things simple, understanding what the hell to do, become a radio man, which I have never been, relaying information, like understanding where we have to navigate back, prioritize and execute, decentralized command, like all of those things, sharing bottles of water, like everything. And so yeah, that was the first thing. It was interesting.
How was the debrief on this operation?
So debrief was pretty fine. In terms of,
did you feel like, hey, we got some shit to fix?
No, I can't.
Or did you feel like you did a decent job?
We did like a decent job in general, like because when we get there, like we were high-fiving, like
when you got home.
Yeah, when we got to the base,
yeah,
like
got back to base.
Yeah, we got back to base. It was I can't even remember debrief. Like I can't remember it.
You were just too fired up.
Yeah, I guess I was like, I don't know, rushing there. But I remember like first thing what I did is like I opened up my Coke bottle and drank that, and we were sitting with 3 dudes, and then the team sergeant came in. what the fuck are you doing here? Why is your gear off? Hey, maybe we have to go out now. So better go and get prepared. So he just pretty much
Hell yeah.
vanished our dreams
Yeah.
of relaxing here. We were like, laying back,
Yeah.
starting to like debrief how we went, and like, but he came in and he was like a hard head. Like he was a true team sergeant from Ranger School.
Yeah.
That kind of a dude. So
Hell yeah.
so yeah, he taught me, and he made me a human. Let's put it like that.
So that was your first op that you went on. And then what was your op tempo like after that first op?
It wasn't really like high. I mean, because mainly what we wanted to achieve is like our intent was to make the area safer, and pretty much all of help the locals start doing stuff, push them out, don't go and break doors before them. So that was the kind of idea. So I think we did overall 6, 7 like huge operations, and some of them were like, we go out with 1,000 people, nobody wants to mess with you, like nobody. So there was like no like extensive firefights.
1,000 people being like
locals,
like almost all locals, like 800 locals or something like that, 900 locals.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you involved in the training of those local nationals as well? So that's what you were doing. That was your job.
Yeah,
train these
exactly.
guys, get them ready for operations, and then roll out.
Exactly. And build relationships and pretty much help them with whatever they needed. So as we had our guys were able to speak Russian. Like we have the common enemy because they had fought against Soviets. It was it's much easier to like bond if you have a common history. So, and our guys were like able to speak Russian with them. Our commanders, like, things were good. So, and as the previous like unit, they did a really great job of building everything up. It was like pretty easy for us.
And you're saying that your Afghan forces were actually pretty squared away.
Yeah, I mean the special forces part or the police, whatever is PRC or whatever they were called. But the A&A, they were like random. Like every time our camp got attacked, they were shooting every direction. So they were still like everyone.
Did you live on a camp with them?
So we lived in a camp where we had the privilege of having we had a battalion of Americans who were pulling security for us. And we were in the middle in our small camp, and we were able to do whatever we wanted pretty much. So we were privileged. We didn't have to pull any security. We didn't have to do much. We just only thing what we had to do is figure out how to make this area safer.
And how much did your field of vision open up as you started doing more operations, and now you're more aware of what's happening and maybe paying attention, like, oh, let's make sure that the helicopter puts us down in the right spot, which is always a big one.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a crazy thing, Echo Charles. So if you and I are going to get dropped off by a helicopter, like 30 seconds in a helicopter means we have to walk an extra 6 hours. Like it's that crazy. And so you can be looking at your map for reference, like, oh, there's that ridge line. Cool. I'm going to put my map away because we're almost there. And 2 minutes later, you're off, like so far off. And that's why we always would have, if we could, helos would drop us off, and then they would maintain on station, like somewhere in the vicinity. So if we were 5 kilometers away or something, we could call them back and say like, hey, wrong spot. But in Afghanistan, it's different. Yeah. And because if you call them back in, now you just made a huge signature. So sometimes it's like, oh, you're just going to have to deal with what you got.
So from there on, I mean, we kind of went in the night. Then we did some like 24-hour operations where we go in the night. We kind of like, I don't know, do 360 to the village, which is like huge village. Like it was funny that we were preparing for call-outs in Estonia. Like, and when we trained it, there was like one building in the middle. We gathered around, and we go there. It's like, yeah, it's a city. Who are we going to call out here? So we prepared for wrong things. So, but eventually, like some of the operations were like, I got assigned 7 locals, and it was me. And those were fun ones.
And what type of operation would that be?
It was like you have to pull security on the south side with those dudes, and you have to be a relay because other dudes will now, the locals will go in there again following Joe Dirt or whoever we want to capture. So we try to pull security. Now we put together in one place. Then you navigate to a random, area. You set up an OP or covering position, and then you stay there pretty much and wait for others to do their operations in the middle somewhere. So, but those were the fun ones. Like you go there, you have zero ways of communicating with those dudes. Just hand signals, and then in the first 5 minutes when you're there, like we go in dark, we have no idea where the heck I am, and all the other guys are going away, so everyone is separate. Now me with the 7 dudes, I'm like, okay, I have no idea where we are, but I know that soon in 1 hour there will be a little bit of light, so I will wait until the light, then I will have a little bit better understanding of the bearings, then I move to the covering position, and then we just stay there. Then as the first light comes up, 3 of those dudes just go away randomly.
They just leave?
They just leave. They go into the city. Like, that's awesome. Now they come back in like 45 minutes. They come back with some food.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we talk or eat. I don't want to eat their stuff because I know that then I have zero bladder control and I'm in a worse place. So you can't put your eyes closed. You can't close your eyes. You're just there, looking for enemy. At the same time, Apaches are coming. There is some action going on. So those kind of operations started to happen, and eventually, as our the build up for that was I think 3 months, we were not able to be at home. So and we didn't have a next team to be prepared to switch us out. So initially we had to be 8 months. And I think on 5th month, we was like, hey, you can come home because we have nobody to send you. So we started pulling out from there because pretty much our overall intent was to showcase and get the qualification that, hey, we have worked together with Americans. We have 2 guys going there. We are now good in terms of books. We have done something. Now it's good. Nobody got killed. Nobody got injured. Let's get the fuck out of there and let's concentrate on the stuff what we have to do at home. Now, because now we have kind of done our job in terms of that. Now the next dudes who came out, or in the very last moment when there was this one awesome operation that was planned
for you guys while you were still there.
Yeah. So, but it didn't get the green light because it was too crazy. There was a Taliban. Training center.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, numbers are always wild, but 100 Taliban or whatever, and we will go over there in the middle of night and let's start doing things, right? But that never got green light from the higher. So we the other unit came in from Slovakia, I think, and then I met 10 years later the partners in Estonia in a random bar, just walking in the bar. And saying, hey, I know you. We were in Afghanistan together. They were deployed in Estonia. And then okay, how did your deployment go after that? And there were 2 Slovakians got killed. So most likely they went and did that kind of stuff. So there were low operations, but a lot of, as you know, unlucky and crazy and wild ideas, because if you don't get the momentum in, if you're doing one operation in a month, if you're doing one operation in 2 weeks, you don't get this muscle memory.
Yeah, you get the muscle memory, you get the repetition, you get the reps in, basically. It's nice to be able to do those. Just yep, we're going. I remember when I was on my first deployment to Iraq and I was in Baghdad, and my boss, my commanding officer, is like, hey, how much time do you need to be able to launch on a mission? And I was like, 15 minutes. And he was kind of like, no, seriously. And I go, no, seriously. If you give me a target location and you give me the frequency of the conventional forces that own that battle space and location of where they're camped at, I said 15 minutes, we can be wheels up. And we actually launched a couple times on very short notice, 15, 20 minutes, a couple times. One time we did it and the guys were not in uniforms. And that was kind of jacked up. I was like, hey, bro, you couldn't put on a uniform in 1 minute? You had 15 minutes to go. But I look up, like, we're rolling out, and I look at the turret gunner ahead of me, and he's wearing, like, just random American clothing.
Jeans and
yeah,
stuff.
like, literally jeans, because, you know, he was just sitting around watching a movie in his tent or something. So he was wearing, like, board shorts, and a T-shirt or something. And just, you know, and it's my fault, obviously, because I didn't say, hey, here's the standard.
Yeah.
When we roll, get your freaking uniform on. So I was, you know, had to tighten that up. But yeah, we could roll out pretty quick. But the thing is, the reason we could roll out quick is we were doing reps. Like we were doing so many hits that it was just like everyone knew their job, everyone knew what to do, and we could do it. We could do a whole operation only with standard operating procedures, with no brief whatsoever. Like breach team 1, you got it. They'll figure that out. Assault team, you know what to do. External security, you're good. And vehicles, you'll get squared away when you check out the terrain. The vehicle commander put you guys in place. Boom.
So yeah, if you kind of wanted to get that part, then you should have gone to infantry in Estonia. Like if you go into Scouts Battalion, they were like 10 years pretty much in Helmand.
Oh man.
They had constant firefights every day, all the day. Like in 6 months, I don't know, 300, 400 like contacts. There was one like Estonian company number 8, which was the bloodiest one. Like they got there was one squad, like I don't know, 12 people, and there was only one person who hasn't got injured.
Damn.
They lost few people, and they got like hit really hard there. But for us, our one was like nothing. Like the operational tempo was like perfect first mission. That's what it was. Perfect first deployment.
Yeah, I actually feel that way about my first deployment too, because it was like the enemy wasn't that settled in yet. IEDs were kind of just starting. The ambushes were honestly like not that good. This is 2003, 2004. So, and we kind of had the upper hand when we'd roll out. And then by the time 2006 rolled around, it was like, okay, I, had more awareness of what was going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we like, it's funny. I talked about helos, like doing helo ops. I never did a helo op. I never did a helo op in combat because we just took vehicles everywhere. Yeah. And even like in Ramadi, helos you couldn't do missions. You couldn't do a mission in Ramadi with a helo. If you had a wounded guy, you couldn't get him out on a helo. You had to get him back to base, onto a secure part of the base, and then a helo could come. But there was no like going out on an operation in a helo for us, and we did it 0 times. So which is kind of interesting, because what's interesting about it is when I was a kid in the teams, we would do training missions, and we would use vehicles. We would use like big 6x trucks, like big 5-ton trucks. And they would call them in the brief, they would call them a helo truck, as if to say, hey, if this was real, this would be a helicopter. And so my whole career, I was like, yeah, of course, if war happens, we'll have all these helicopters. And then as it turns out, the way the war went in Iraq anyways, I know it was different in Afghanistan, but in Iraq, and look, there was definitely people that used helicopters in Iraq. I wasn't one of them. Like we had our own vehicles. We were going to get to the target. We were going to be able to do it fast. In Baghdad, it was just, we used helos one time in Baghdad, but it was we had captured a high value target and they took him. So they like met us and took him, which was kind of cool. But other than that, didn't do it. And then in Ramadi, there was no helos in the city. Even the Apaches, which are like flying tanks, they would barely roll into Ramadi because it was like just massive. When they did roll in, it was scary. You'd just hear freaking the whole city lighting up, like trying to shoot them down. So the helo truck thing, we actually did a bunch of, I did so many operations in 5-ton trucks. It's kind of crazy.
We had a Gatling gun on one of the trucks.
Oh, nice.
It was like usually like the same thing what happened with the dudes who later went to Africa. They got like British trucks, which looked like that you don't want to mess with it. And like like all the people who got ambushed was like in front of the French, because they had like weak looking vehicles. So and they're like they don't want the Vikings to come.
Yeah.
Because if Vikings come, then it sucks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had that too. Like on that first deployment to Iraq, so we didn't have armored vehicles. Our Humvees were just Humvees, like with cloth doors. So we took the cloth doors completely off. We turned the seats so that the seats were facing out. And then the guys sitting in the Humvee, obviously the driver was driving, but everyone else was facing out with their weapon out. And then in the back, we had heavy weapons, including these articulating arms. And so these things look like, we called them porcupines because it was, and obviously we had the turret gun. And so it just looked like if you mess with this, and there'd be whatever, 4, 5, 6 Humvees that were all just look like porcupines. And it was a very good deterrent. We got ambushed a few times, but it was, we drove a lot. And to have had that little amount of, to only get ambushed a few times and have been on the road for countless hours, you know, hundreds of missions, like that's pretty good. That kind of told me like the enemy is looking at us going, let's wait for the next convoy to roll by. That seems like a good idea. They don't, like, same thing, they don't want the Vikings.
Yeah, they don't want it. They don't want the Gatling gun starting to shoot them. That will be a bad one. And there was like those random times like where we were just driving back from somewhere, and once was like the checkpoints that was established, they also did their test fires towards our vehicles. Once there was like American dude was behind the 50 cal, and there was like this one, like the hinge was up, and obviously the bullets were in there. So there were like the random places where people could get killed, but nothing really like happened. So we were lucky in that sense, but the next team, they were not so lucky.
Yeah, Estonians, I mean, they deployed to Iraq since 2003 and Afghanistan, I think also in 2003, like constant on-the-ground presence from our allies in Estonia.
Yeah.
And suffered some pretty significant casualties. Like in Afghanistan, I think it's 9 killed and 90 wounded, and then in Iraq, 18 wounded and 2 killed. So for considering how small your population is, that's...
yeah, we were second, sadly.
Oh, you mean in comparison to population?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in terms of lost. I think the first one was Danes. They were also wild people. So yeah. But that was the price. So that we had to pay to get advancement in our army, because that changed everything. Equipment got better. The knowledge got better. We now know what to teach to our conscripts. Otherwise, before that, I mean, we were breaking... I don't know.
Bricks with your
hands. So that kind of changed.
How was it when you got home from this deployment? So
first thing, what we did, we went to drink, obviously. So there was some, like, the first things were like, it was hard to kind of get back to the normal life. I mean, there was like... a lot of stress. Like we had more problems when we didn't go out, because if we stayed in, our team sergeant, he liked to find us jobs to do. So we had a lot of meetings, we had a lot of stuff. So we had internal, I would say, stress rather than outside stress. When we got back, like the brain was a little bit stressed out. You couldn't, like, you read the newspaper, the biggest news is someone got a huge ass, and that's the biggest problem. So you couldn't kind of comprehend what this world is here. But that went on pretty fast, because we didn't get much time to rest. We just went to start doing chase sets, doing some training with SEALs, going to Georgia, going to States. So we went on the road, and yeah. And
are you thinking that this is going to be your career? Are you thinking you're going to do, how many years do you have to do to retire there?
So in reality, like I had like 5-year contract, but you can get out from the contract whenever you want. Yeah. So there is no rules. There were like some people like saying that we have to change the rules, because people can get out pretty much whenever they want. So, but yeah, pretty much it's not a system like in over here. So you have to do the conscript service, which 1 year, and then first I got like this trial time for 1 year, and then you get the security, like top security clearance for 3 years, and pretty much it will be 3 years, then 5 years. So,
but once you get, like, I'm talking about you personally, what were you thinking? Were you like, look, I done all this training, I went to Afghanistan, I had an awesome deployment, we're doing J sets, what's next? Like, so, were you thinking you were going to be a career soldier at this point?
So I never kind of wanted to have a career. Like, I wanted to get the experience. Like, but that time I kind of like was there. I did really good in terms of like, I liked it. That was the first time I started learning with intention of wanting to learn. So it was fun for me because the development also was uphill all the time. And then when we came back, like, then there was a problem of not having enough work because there is like not many terrorists born in Estonia. So
being a warrior without a war has its problems.
Yeah, pretty much like that. And then we were like, well, also we were building our unit. So there were like a lot of things that we had to do internally to spread the knowledge and stuff like that. And then eventually there was opportunities to go to Syria. There was a lot of like other places, but none of the politicians just kind of wanted to send us anywhere. And until then, I think it took like 6 years or 7 years to get again to the area where there could be some combat. So there was a pretty long period, but that time I kind of like, we went to now in a training mode. So Ukrainian war started in 2014, right? And then we figured out that there is a ways how to support them. So we started doing some stuff over there, helping the Ukrainian forces together with Americans, Lithuanians, Polish, Latvians. And during that time, I kind of have a daughter born, and that she was 1 week old. I had to go away for a half a year again. And that was the time I was like, okay, I don't see any action coming. And I made a checklist, pros and cons. And it was like 14-0 to go out. So there was not much of decision. And yeah, so then I just pretty much said to my team that, hey, I'm thinking about other stuff. And I was like 27, I think, that I will try something else because now it's the moment, or otherwise I will kind of stay here. Then it was time to let the other team know, and then pretty much I started looking outwards.
What insight can you give us on the Ukrainian military?
So they were really bad at that time. So when we went there, they were like civilians sent to the front line, not with much training at that time. So when we actually, like, we have like this huge exercise, Spring Storm, when our, like, the whole country, NATO, like sometimes it's like 10,000 soldiers come together and we have an exercise which all is played out during 1 month. So 1 month there's like maneuvers and all that kind of stuff. Everyone gets to train and it's like live, like there's like a huge FTX. And then we ask like Ukrainians, like, do you have also similar exercises? They say, yes, we have it. So, but they work differently. It works like this, like for 1 month you train and it's like theater. Like, because you know that in 1 month generals are coming to look how we are doing. And by that time there's like trails. And then you go there and you fall at some place, the tanks are coming. So it's all charades, there's nothing really there. And that was kind of the training that what they adopted from the Russian army. That was the style of training. So their basic skills were pretty bad. And we were able to kind of help them to share the understanding of what we knew. What I would say that what they are on a really good level is like all like explosives. Building booby traps, building IEDs. That's where they are on really, really high level. And they started to incrementally, like war will teach them, like eventually. And I would say that at the moment they are pretty good, on a pretty good level.
And they obviously have the will because it's their home.
Yeah, they have I mean, from 2014 until now when the war started, then I think that if I'm not messing up numbers, they had sent through the front line like 300,000 men. And I think that they had like 14,000 or 11,000 casualties during that 10 years. So they were in war all of the time. So they learned some hard lessons. And from our point of view, we were able to learn in terms of our intelligence. We were able to start gathering information. And I think Estonia was at one point like one of the centers in terms of the accurate information that is coming from eastern side. So our human and some of our services started to get really, really good information, and they got really good like training from all of that.
Meanwhile, after that, you decide you're going to get out, and then what's your plan when you get out? So now you got to earn a living. What do you decide you're going to go do?
So yeah, I had an apartment, so I thought I would sell that. And then I got like, I don't know, 40,000 euros on a bank account, which I figured that, okay, for half of that I can pay a year's rent or something. And then other I will invest in poker.
Okay.
So I figured I left off with poker. I was pretty good at that. So I figured I would start that again. And then I started playing poker. And actually the problem was that I was doing too good. And now as you're doing good, you think that that's something which will last. And in reality, what lasted was that I was winning money. I never lost in terms of I always made money, but my expenses were, for whatever reason, just going higher and higher and higher. And I didn't check the balance, I guess, or I don't know what the fuck I was doing. So eventually I ended up in a situation where I was minus 30,000 in 1.5 years later.
You needed to win more, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you want to earn I don't know 3,000-4,000 in a month, you have to have about the bankroll of 100,000, because the highs and lows are so crazy. So there's so much variance.
So you got to be able to dig yourself out of a hole.
Yeah, so you have to have a bankroll.
And if you don't have a bankroll, you're just stuck. You need to go down, that's it.
So there's no stability. You can't get stable because you can't get the money out because you need it to work. So so eventually, there's no stability there. And I was putting in hours. So for me now, all the time, so I got together with the mother of the child just before I deployed. And then we were together 6 years. Somewhere in the middle, my brother was born. And then I kind of tried to figure out things. And then when we moved to Tartu, and where I was from, then the rent went even higher because I started renting a house now. So
you're literally the only income you have is poker.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then things start to don't work, but I'm never looking at the red flags. I'm thinking, okay, if I do that, I was kind of contingency planning all the time. So I was kind of prepared. I knew that I can, whatever happens, I can dig myself out from it. So I always took leap of faith. Okay, maybe this works, maybe nothing worked. And then eventually I put in hours. So when I came back, I was okay, how do I schedule my day? Because I had no idea how to operate outside from someone telling me what to do. And the only thing what I knew is that, okay, in the military, we had schedules. This is how your day starts, this is how it ends. And then I just made a schedule. I planned every hour. And then I had a schedule Saturday was a rest day. And every day I played poker. So now for me, I was always home. But for my family, I was working.
Was it online poker?
Mostly online. Mostly online. So I eventually played 6,000 hours in total. So I was sitting there I think 2,500 hours a year or maybe more. So 10, 15, 16 hour days sitting behind the computer, just grinding.
Is it fun for you, or are you just working?
Yeah, it is fun. It's fun and it's working. Eventually it becomes work.
Yeah.
It's a beatable game. It's just a skill game, I would say. It requires the same thing what every other thing. You have to learn. You have to be disciplined. You have to manage your bankroll in right level. You can't go and play. If you have 1,000 euros, you can't play a tournament within 1,000 euro buy-in. You have to play €1 buy-in, because then you can play 1,000 tournaments.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, eventually you're able to make some money, but it just, I don't know, I was somewhere in a tunnel because of my ego, and everyone outside was thinking, oh, Remo is doing so good. He's living in the right apartments. He's living large. But in reality, everything turned into shit. So obviously, as I put so many hours, I was not able to build a relationship with the mother of my child. And then eventually, like, she came in at some point where everything was already shit anyways. And then she said that he found a more awesome dude than I, which I kind of agreed. Because to me, that was like a way out. I actually pushed forward a hard conversation. I already saw a long time ago that this is not working, but I just postponed it and postponed it. And that gave me a way out. And then when I got the way out, then that was the moment when I kind of stumbled upon on your book. And then on the first page, like first I thought, obviously, where did all of my trouble start? It was my mentor who led me into this hole. It was my mother of my child who sucked at things. It was nothing to do with me. And then I pretty much took that book and read the first chapter. It didn't take much more to figure out that I had to look into the mirror. And then I just started grinding for the first two weeks. Pretty much I had €500. I had a rent to pay, which was like 1,500. So I knew that we were going to split. I have no place to live. They don't have any place to live. So I called a few of my buddies. I said, okay, I need €4,000, another loan. And then I figured out the place where they could live. And then there was my friend who was the same dude who talked with my uncle and cried that, hey, I need something to do. He was like going to his friend's farm. And then I just went there for 2 months in the summer. And what I did, I just destroyed buildings. Like there was some
demolition.
Yeah, something like that with whatever. And just thinking about life. And now I was like, I'm like, I don't know, 30 or 29. I'm like in the biggest hole of my life. I'm retired. I'm a soft guy. And I'm actually like nothing. I have nothing. So I was in that spot. And then I started asking, okay, what should I do? And then someone recommended me that, hey, maybe as you have a military background, we're starting to have a defense industry now. So maybe it would make sense that you start asking them. And then I went to the defense industry page. There's like, I don't know, 100 companies in Estonia. And I just listed out 7 of them because first one was like they were doing like empty shells that you can fill in with explosives or plastic explosives. So you can heat those under your bed and they are not considered as weapons. But if you add C4 into it, it's an actual like M14. It's like a
Claymore?
Yeah, it's Claymore, but also like this directional charge.
EFP?
EFP, exactly, yeah. So as we were testing those things when I was in the army, I thought, okay, maybe they would like to utilize my knowledge. They said, yeah, you can contact us in half a year. So, okay, cool. Then the next place was Milram. And then I sent my CV over there, just info mail. Hey, maybe you want me into your team. And then...
What company was that?
Milram Robotics.
Okay.
Yeah, Estonian company. And then there was one dude who replied to me, and he was one of the commanders in my previous unit. And he said, of course, come in on Monday. And I went in on Monday, and then there was a work interview.
Oh, nice.
I was sitting there, and I saw that, there's 2 other dudes from the SOF, and there's other dude. So there was only 4 military guys in front of me, and they just told me what I will start doing. I had no option.
Awesome.
And then they asked me, so how much do you want to get paid? I said, I need €1,000. I don't care about anything else. I need that. And they all started laughing. Like that's how low balling you are. Like that's such a small number. So you will get like 2,000 straight away. I was like, okay, so you want to tell me that I have no skills and you are going to pay me like for learning 2,000 a month? That's good for me.
Yeah.
I only wanted 1,000 to get by. And then I pretty much figured, I just read the book Outlier before that.
Yep.
And then there was a section like there is sometimes things happen which shouldn't happen with you. And now most of the people miss those opportunities. And I figured out, okay, that's the opportunity that I shouldn't have. And then what I started doing, I just started.
What do you mean that's the opportunity that you shouldn't have?
Like, it shouldn't, like, if my friends were not there, I wouldn't get in.
Got it.
Yeah,
So-
like you don't deserve it.
So like you don't deserve it, so you should really get after it?
Yeah, so I mean,
Or is it like you shouldn't do it because you
Like-
don't really deserve it?
in terms of like, if you look at my CV, like I would never get that position.
Yep.
So
you were lucky to get that job.
absolutely.
And you felt that.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, I'm going to work hard.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do everything I can to make this happen. And I look at all the other people and said, okay, I will outwork all of you. And I was first person in the office, last person out from the office, and I just pretty much got after it. And when you have that attitude and you have back against the wall, I mean, nothing is stopping you.
And then how long were you doing that for?
So I was doing that for 3 years. So I started from being a project or program manager, which was like I don't know, you get one army and you pretty much start building relationships. In reality, it was more of a business development sales job.
And this is when you say one army, you get an army from some other country.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you're like, you're going to work
Yeah.
with this army from this country, and you're
So
going
you
to
have-
sell them weapons,
Yeah,
systems,
exactly.
and work with
So
them. And
First
find out
customer was like I got designated Italy as a first customer. Like on the first month, they came into Estonia, that they were interested in our robots. And what we did, there was 4 military dudes sitting on one side of the table. On our side of the table, there was other 4 military guys. And what we did, we just talked. Then we went drinking, and we had good time. And that's
Made a
how we
deal.
started to build relationships. And it took me then like 1.5 years of building a relationship, and eventually, yes, we got deals. Like I was like, okay, so what are you doing this week? We have this amazing update. Would you like to know more about it? So that was kind of the stuff what we started doing. And eventually, like it was like a total startup world where we didn't have the product ready. And we were like, yeah, our machines are capable of doing Terminator stuff, but in reality, no. And then I remember I had to go to give a presentation in Italy. And the way how it worked was that there was a huge tender. We were competing against all the huge like companies, Rheinmetall, Leonardo, and all the European big ones. And then I had to go there and provide a presentation. So the product that was presenting was invented day before in a slideshow, and the name of that was ISIA2 or something like that. A really complicated name. And then I got that brief, and then I had to go and present that to 50 colonels. And I was like, And then I went there, just spoke something in 20 minutes. I have no idea what I said. And then the head of the overall thing said, I like what you said. You know why? Because you're the only military guy here. You had the structure. You were like simple, clear, and concise. Like, all right, roger that. I have no idea what I just said, but if you say so, then I'm good. And I was able to like build a good relationship with them, and eventually we got to understanding of what are the tender terms. As I had a good relationship with them, then we were able to get our team together. We wrote a lot of poetry into the tender documents, and eventually we won. I was like genuinely believing that we are the best like partners for them. And then eventually we won the deal against all the big ones. Nobody believed in it. And that was one of the biggest deal at that time in the company. So, and I was head of that. And then eventually we started delivering that. So, and I remember that was one of the best lessons I learned, that when we went there, and we already kind of knew that there was a lot of poetry. And when you go there, and you are sit down, and then they start asking questions about things that you know that you don't have right in the right order.
Ouch.
And then we called it that I was like I don't know how to say it, but like we went there to get on the knees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
and that's what we did. Like it was a really awesome experience of understanding how that works. But eventually we were able to start delivering them. We were able to cooperate with them, and we were able to eventually help them. So, but that was the world. And that was like in Europe. Eventually, as I was successful in all of those things, eventually I got designated to the Middle East. And then I started going to the Middle East. Now, what I did, the only thing what I did was building relationships, making connections to everyone. And then obviously, who do you, like how that world worked for me. Same time when I went to Italy, there was one guy from FLIR, and Black Hornet driver. He was from Norwegian SOF, and if you speak with them, you know that hey, you have this language that you can actually start speaking of. And then I was like, okay, actually I'm like my main area of responsibilities in Middle East now. He said, yeah, I'm there as well. So okay, next time when you come there, let me know. So next time I go there, I let him know. He tells me that, hey, we are drinking. Come and join. I go there. He puts me on behind the table. Next to me is like a president of a company. In front of me, there is another owner of the company. They just won a 70 million deal of drones or something. They're just celebrating. And now I'm there. What we do? We talk military stuff. We talk nothing about our products. We just drink, have a good time. Next day, they remember that, hey, we had a good time. So what are you selling? Oh, yeah, we have these robots. I don't know, come and check it out. They come to, oh, this is really high-tech stuff, yeah? Of course, yes, it is. And then you take 3 months from there, and they pretty much bought one without ever seeing a demonstration or nothing. So it's all relationships. And then you start working on. So what I always did is that I built network, which started, so I utilized pretty much decentralized commands. So I'm cover moving, building relationships, we understand our intents, and then eventually I let them do the job because I have no idea how to do anything anyways. I really don't know. So the only way I have is to let them do it what they know, and as they have a good track record, they start connecting people. And eventually you're running in all the countries and you have agents on people's there. So only thing what you have to do is just manage them, provide them information. And that's how that world works pretty much.
So then at what point did you recognize that there was another opportunity in the world in terms of teaching what you had learned in the military to other people? So
I kind of recognized it in the very beginning when I joined the company. Because obviously at that point I thought that the only thing what I know is how to shoot and blow things up because that was my profession. But then I started realizing that, hey, that experience what we had, because we were growing as a soft unit, right? Then the milram was exactly like that. There was people, especially there was military people. And they were actually had the same attitude as they were as there. So I just started pretty much understanding that, first of all, the book that was a really easy guide for me what to do. And eventually I started understanding that, hey, it's exactly the same. You just have to have the right attitude. So I understood that I have to have the same mentality how I got through selection. So one step at a time, not giving up, being a team player, building relationships, trying to support, all the kind of stuff. And then eventually I started understanding that, hey, there is something there. I started listening more of your podcast and stuff like that. And at that point, I started putting together some PowerPoints randomly. You put together a PowerPoint. You think that it could be a course. Then I think I went to whatever page. I really didn't get further than making an account on some page. I never uploaded anything. I did nothing. It was just I had a lot of PowerPoints in my PC. Then I contacted two other dudes, Martin and one other dude, and pitched them, hey, let's do something our own. But they were already like going to university, doing some other stuff, so nobody wanted to do anything. So I postponed it until one day, I don't know, maybe it was 2 years in, Martin called me and he said that, hey, I went to speak with in one company about military decision making, so MDMP, and they really seemed to like it. I helped them solve a problem or something. And I was like, okay. And there was like one person who had transitioned to another company and she wanted him to come and speak about that again. And then the problem statement, what was in the email, was like, my people are not taking ownership. Like, this is not a military decision-making problem. This is like a ownership problem. They need something else. And so what I would do is that, because I had already observed all of your stuff so much, that I said, okay, we should like just talk about what's written in the book, or give them a book, or I don't know, do something about it, because they don't definitely need that. So, but he kind of was like, but I don't know, let's try and put it together. I said, okay. And then next day we founded Combat Ready. I went to I looked, okay, what is their name? Echelon Front. All right, so what could be our company's name? So it took some military vocabulary, just started scanning. So what could be our name? So randomly Combat and Ready. So everyone is facing some battles or combats in their life. So they have to be ready for that. So I don't know, it makes sense, whatever.
I like it.
And then we established that because in Estonia, it's all digital. Like you can do like 99% of stuff you can do digitally. Everything in government. Like we are like Estonia. It's like one of our, like, I don't know.
It's like the pride of your country.
Exactly.
Well, that's actually something to be proud of because here in America, these fools, dude, you want to get something done in America, you got to fill that shit out, dude.
Yeah.
Triplicate. And then you're going to get some other form you got to fill out. And then you got to fill out the same form. Like you're filling out the same information over and over and over again. It's ridiculous. So good job, Estonia.
Yeah. So yeah, everything, banking, everything is online. Like signing things online, everything is online. And then so in Estonia, it takes 15 minutes to establish a company.
Damn. Nice.
You go there, you fill out some forms. I don't know, that's what we do. Whatever. And as he was an officer, he knew things what to write.
He's filling out the forms.
Yeah, he's filling out the forms. I have no idea what to do with those forms. So that's what we made clear in the very beginning. You're a form guy. You do our finances. You do our housekeeping on that side. I want to do nothing with that. And I don't know how to do it either.
Check. So then how was the first gig? What kind of company was it?
So it was a insurance company, startup as well. We went there, again, 7 women looking at us, and we are talking something about extreme ownership. We also put in the military decision making. We also talked about things that we knew. And then the first reaction from them is that, makes sense. Like, all right, we got something. And I remember when we were walking away from that place we were high-fiving, like, that felt good. Yeah. So we actually did something.
When I talked to my first civilian company, I walked out of there going, and it's actually when the person asked, like I went through the brief, the combat leadership brief. It's the same thing that we give at Echelon Front. And I got done. Then I started answering questions. The first question, when I answered it, I was like, oh, this applies to everything. And I knew. Like, we got something here. So that's how you felt.
Yeah, I already knew it while I was implementing those because it was so obvious that this works. I even bought everyone this book in my team because I saw that they complained about, we don't have enough time. Yeah, I know. You come in 9, you leave at 4. So I'm coming in at 5 and leaving at 7, and I have plenty of things to do, and everything gets done. So I understood that they were in comfort zone already. They have egos, like military guys still, so they were not paying attention. Now I gave them the book, and then eventually one guy reads it, and he calls me like 1 month in, like, "Hey, awesome book. I really liked it. Now I understand whose fault it is that everything is shit. The CEO." I was like, of course, now you understand it really well. So, yeah, so I kind of gave up on that. But yeah, I really understood because things started to go in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything started to turn around in my life.
And then, so you started turning around your own life. Now you get an opportunity to go talk to these 7 women. They're kind of high-fiving. What year was that? Do you remember?
It was 2022.
Okay, so that's relatively recently.
So,
Are you sure it's 2022?
21.
Okay.
21.
Okay.
Yeah, because Combat Ready is already 3 years old. So,
Okay.
yeah, 21.
So 2021, you do this first event. Now, what's interesting to me is a lot of people would have said, okay, extreme ownership, cover and move, simple, prioritize and execute, decentralized command. I get it. How about we go total responsibility? How about we go fire and maneuver, keep it simple, stupid, analyze and prioritize, and then empower your people. You see what I'm saying? Like, you could have easily just said, I see what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I'm from a different country. You could translate the exact same words and just be like, in Estonian, I would never know it.
Mm-hmm.
You're a stand-up human that was like, actually, no, we got them from this book. Let's give credit where credit is due. But, you know, for me, like, from a humility perspective, like, that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everyone's competitive, and those, you know, we're the SEALs. You know, they're just doing the basic military stuff, or we know stuff too. So, where'd that come from?
I think it came from one, just because we did one month long training in Norway with SEAL Team 3.
Are you sure it was SEAL Team 3?
Yeah.
That's really weird. Most of the time, they don't go to Europe at all.
They were responsible for Europe.
So it was either Team 2, or there has been some funky deployments.
Maybe it was 2 then, I don't know.
It might have been 2.
Yeah. So you were SEAL Team 3 or what?
I was SEAL Team 2, SEAL Team 3, SEAL Team 7, and SEAL Team 1.
Okay. So, but task unit was what? Cruiser was?
SEAL Team 3.
Okay, so then it was SEAL Team 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so because it wasn't the same number.
Okay,
got it. Yeah, it was SEAL Team 2, and we were doing things over there together with them. We formed the one task force,
mm-hmm.
and I really just liked what they were doing. I mean, there were junior guys who were totally junior, and they were designated initially drivers to us, and then we were driving them to their operations and stuff like that, and then I don't know, they were the first unit who kind of didn't throw other branches of army under the bus. So they have a different attitude. They were training all the time. They were boxing we were living in the same hangar. So, I mean, they were like kind of legit.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like really huge winds at that one day when they had to go out there.
Wind.
Yeah, wind.
Okay.
Yeah, like really strong winds between the fjords, and then they have to go on operation.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of the night, I take them to the port. There are local people tying down boats because they have a storm which even had a name. I can't remember what the name was. So I already see that
the name was Satan's breath.
Something like that. And then they went out.
Yeah.
Even though they knew that there will be no reach, or they will never reach to the place where they had to go, but they had to go out because it's a good training, right?
That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
Then they came back, they were so fucked up, totally wet, totally like done. And then I kind of gained respect on that, and also like at the same time they got a call in. There was one, I don't know, oil tanker taken over by someone somewhere, and they started switching their locks out, the FTX locks, or is it FTX? I don't know, whatever it is, like blue ones, which you can insert in your own weapon. So they took those things out, and we're like, okay, what are these guys doing? They are actually putting actual stuff together. So, and then, we can't tell you. Okay, fine. And the next day we read from the newspaper that SEALs went and, I don't know, rescued the ship or onboarded it and took it down. Then there was a lot of celebration. The HQ stayed there. We continued our operations, but that kind of experience eventually, we had respect because they were kind of legit, obviously, right?
That's awesome.
And it's good that they don't have to like think it. It was really the first unit that kind of impressed in that sense that they didn't throw anyone under the bus. And sadly, I can tell that the Green Berets, they threw SEALs and everyone else under the bus constantly. So anyways.
It's a strange thing because it doesn't seem like it, but when you talk smack about other people, it doesn't really sound that good. You know, if when Echo walks out, you know, to go grab a drink and I'm like, you know, Echo's not really that great at jiu-jitsu. Like who does that? You know what I mean? Like that's just such a... Yeah.
And I would say also like... I don't know, I worked with probably like 10 ODAs or something like that in total. And they're like, they were like ODAs which were like totally legit.
Oh yeah, totally.
They said nothing. And then there were like, some of them were like one dude or two dudes were like, had huge egos and they kind of shit on all of their...
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I mean, every unit has some dudes in it that are...
I know, we had them.
Losers and they're the biggest egos ever. And broadly speaking... most dudes like are good mugs. Like you go to an ODA team, you go to a Raider platoon or troop, this is a SEAL platoon. Like the dudes are good dudes, and there's of course there's some loudmouth in there, and there's someone that's disgruntled, and there's someone that has insecure, and so they're going to talk smack. But most dudes, and of course it's like when you're in the dudes that you meet, you're like, oh, yeah, dude, these guys are good to go most of the time. So
and I think that experience kind of gave me. That I wanted to share the respect and continue it. And then when we saw those principles and actually like, hey, let's build a relationship with those dudes because we have no idea how to do any of this. And they have been doing it for 10 years. So why not? Let's I don't know, let's partner up because we would have to invent a bicycle. And there's no point of doing that. Yes, we can write our own book. Like extreme responsibility, or we could maybe be smarter and say responsibility extreme, or I don't know. But that's not worth it. So we wanted to start from the right foot, and after that training, we decided after high-fiving that let's write to you guys. We figured out, I don't know, I think we were not able to find your emails.
We have like a contact page at echelonfront.com. That
exactly, something like that. But then we did our OSINT. So we had a pretty good training in terms of intelligence, how that word works. So we went back, I don't know, 5 years to your first page, and then we got all of your emails. And then we just added you guys there in the CC line or whatever, and then started sending the first email. Leaf was the one responded back. Thank you for your service. 2 guys from Eastern Europe, and go to the academy and see what's up. And then we went to the academy.
So the academy is our online training program. So Leif was like, hey, that's awesome. Thanks for your service. Go check out the academy.
Yeah, exactly. But we want a partnership, right?
Which props to Leif.
Yeah.
You notice he responds.
Absolutely.
I mean, good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always joke, Leif is way nicer than I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's like when we go meet people, he's talking to someone for 9 minutes, I was done in 30 seconds. And I'm not a bad person, but like, hey, how you doing? It's good to meet you too. And Leif's like, so where are you from? And it's just like, he's just nicer than me. And, he gets an email and he's like, hey, thanks for your service. Check out the academy, right on.
And then like...
God bless him.
Then we got that reply.
Cover and move.
And he's doing that great. I mean, we were so happy that we got an email back.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we have something. And then what we decided to do is that, okay, let's start then providing value. Because like, what can we do? There's nothing what we can do out here. Let's start grinding through the academy. We saw that, okay, it seems not to be digitally perfect because there was it was like very first time when you kind of went online with that. So we started seeing things and then we started writing feedbacks. That's a really great way how to build a relationship. You start telling what they're doing wrong, especially from the point where we knew nothing in reality. So that was the form of value. What we thought that, hey, like, let's do that. They should they are talking in all of their posts that they appreciate feedback and stuff like that. So we can't go much wrong. So I started doing that. That really didn't work out. We were really sending a lot of emails. I think eventually we didn't get much replies anymore because
I don't know because I never saw them.
Yeah, absolutely. And then eventually we thought that, hey, So this is not working.
And were you still bringing on clients at this time, and you were working?
No.
No, you were still trying to figure out how to get this thing launched for real.
Because we both had the real jobs. I was still flying to Saudi and stuff like that, doing the other stuff. So that was kind of like a hobby. Let's see what we can make out from that. And then we thought that, hey, so what options do we have? So they have an FTX somewhere. Most likely we should be able to showcase that we know what we can do, because it seems to be a military training type of stuff. And then we said, okay, 4,000, whatever it was. All right. So Martin told me that, hey, let's go there. I said, yeah. So where do we get the money? So like, I had like a credit line, like, I don't know, with 15 or 20% interest. I took a loan. Oof. Like, now we have tickets. I already bought them. Oh, so now we're going? Yeah, we're going. So now we kind of had it in April. So I prepared a homepage, a really good one, of course. We had 0 pictures of us in civilian clothing, I would say, because the first time I even bought adult clothing was when I joined Milram. Until then, I just had T-shirts.
Yeah.
And then I had to wear a button-up shirt and stuff like that. So that was the first time I had adult clothing. And then, first of all, we didn't have any pictures. We only had pictures from military clothing. And then everywhere, what we decided that, hey, we don't want to do anything behind your backs. We want to do it the right way. So I created the homepage with Jocko here, Jocko there, Leaf there, Extreme Ownership here. So that's what we do. And then eventually we had a vacation for 2 weeks, and then we flew to States. And our plan was that, hey, let's go there. We have already provided so much value to them by providing them a lot of feedback. So let's go there and let's see what happens. And then we eventually arrived. Then we had the first, meetup or whatever. And then I had an app, Wix or whatever it was. And then I started getting hits. Like someone is watching our homepage from Dallas. 10 hits. Which means that, okay, now I knew that they know who we are, what we do, what we kind of want to achieve. At least they have a ballpark understanding. And then we said, okay, now we will never initiate any conversations with them ourselves, because then we will look needy. So we will not be needy. So now the only thing what we have to do is just go there and perform. And then the next day came in, and then first exercise started.
Yeah. It was so legit to watch. I wish I had film of it, because it was like, I would say like, it was like jiu-jitsu black belt against white belts, and how much, but it's different because jiu-jitsu in its nature looks sloppy. You understand what I'm saying? Like jiu-jitsu in its nature, there's movement.
Yeah, if you didn't see it before or whatever.
This was like a different thing. It's like watching someone do a different, like a sport, like the hurdles or something. Like do each like a decathlon, and everything, they're just like smooth and just and you're literally watching people that have never done a pole vault before. Imagine a dude that's never done the pole vault before, and he's running down the track carrying a pole for the pole vault. Like, this is a disaster.
Yes, sir.
And in the midst of a guy doing that, a guy throwing a javelin backwards, a guy like dropping a discus 3 feet from the circle, a guy jumping on the long jump like 3 feet and then falling on his face. That's what we're watching. And then there's 2 guys that are just like mechanically just slaying. And I immediately walked up to JP. It was probably JP that checked your website.
Yeah.
I walked up to I'm JP, like, who are these 2 dudes right here? And he's like, dude, they're Afghan soft. Like, I go, they're Estonian soft. They deployed to Afghanistan. I was like, check. I go, this is going to be awesome. And yeah, so it was, that was a freaking great move. That was a great move that you guys executed. And you, I would say you had me at hold what you got, move forward. Like one of those things where I was watching, it's like, oh, okay, well, these guys are in the game, Yeah,
and that was the thing. Like, then I think we did like 2 runs, and then it's like, okay, sitting down, hey, we would like to do the same thing in Estonia. and you said, okay, now you got my attention. And we said, okay, now Martin, we like mentally high-fived each other already. Let's not fuck it up anymore. Let's just keep cool and let's continue. We continued that, and then we got the green light from you, and we brought the flag with the message that, hey, we gave you Estonian flag with the message. I remember that this will, when you have a HQ, this will be first flag that you pull there in front of your HQ.
There you go.
And yeah, I mean, that was the planted seed.
Yeah.
Then we got back, we saw that this FTX thing works, because we had no idea how to conduct it initially. And then we went back, we gathered up a group of friends, like, I don't know, 15. And then we run our first trial. So we rehearsed. And obviously we got a really good feedback. Then we next, Martin was working in, governmental company, and said, okay, we have this new training idea. Maybe let's run all the departments through that. And obviously we did it for whatever, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that started to build, like, we had content.
Mm-hmm.
Then I made another amazing video, which sucked, of course. And then we said, okay, we have no idea how to market anything. So the first person we came in, was one lady. Okay, we need marketing. And she initially thought that, who are these military guys? You're selling some military stuff. She didn't understand anything. But eventually we got her on board, and she started made us a new homepage. And then we started doing Facebook content.
Mm-hmm.
And with that was also awesome thing, because so far, the 8 years while I was in the military, we didn't have any Facebook, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Zero.
Yep.
Zero social media. And now you guys tell me that I have to start making videos and speak things like to other people about how to, live their life. Like, that's fucking stupid. Who does those things? And then I made videos. I need a 30-second clip. I did maybe 40 takes. And then I said, okay, I can't do it anymore. Look at this. Oh yeah, it's perfect. No, it sucks, but okay, give it a shot. So in the beginning, Martin did all the videos, because I just didn't want to do it, because it felt so fucking weird to speak some things to other people and teach them whatever. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And then eventually, we had, I think, 4 or 5 FTXs. I did 2-hour keynote of introduction in my company, and we had the same idea. Okay, we have to kind of, in the defense industry, if you go to the customer and they first ask, does your own army use your equipment? And if you have no, then you're pretty much, nobody wants it. Why? So you want to sell it to us, but your own government doesn't want it. So we figured that, okay, if we are able to kind of help our own companies to improve, then we have we did it over there already. It works. So we started with our own companies, and then word started going around. We got our first customers or something like that. And by the end of that year, there was, I think, a conference, whatever the conference was. We kind of got a classroom. And obviously, when we went to see where the classroom was, it was on the 3rd floor in the furthest corner. And we thought, okay, nobody will first of all, nobody will find it. And then when we started talking about it, then for whatever reason, there was 100 people. And nobody, there was not enough room for people to get into the room. And I think that day I was had been drinking until 4, because that was the way how you build relationship in defense industry. So that was my gig. I went there on a conference, and every day until whatever. And then I had 2 hours of sleep, and I gave first English keynote, which went perfect. It was perfect, right? I couldn't have done it most likely in any other condition. So it went really well. And now we said, okay, now we have again new information out there. And then I started thinking, okay, how do we make it every time when we go there, we'd have to do something bigger and something more bigger. And by that year, end of that year, I think we maybe had run, I don't know, 5 trainings or something like that. So nothing much. And then as we didn't have any understanding of how to do the classroom trainings, we just figured out some things. It was like we talked about so many stuff that you can't imagine. We talk about everything. Indirect method, ego, like all the things what you could possibly talk about. But still the feedback was really good. Because nobody has previously ever talked about it, so it doesn't matter if the content is so good, like they say good. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, like Martin had to go away, so now the company was pretty much on me because he left to Europe to run some huge projects, which meant that he now was our source of finances because he got a good salary, and we were just doing, I don't know, zero money, zero nothing. So we're not making much money, but at least we had our jobs. So we were able to live on that, but we were making no money. And then we had to start bringing in new instructors. Sorry, I'm actually speeding up. So the first year after we did those first gigs, for whatever reason, me and one other dude, we were like talking, hey, so like in Estonia, like you can get a mark if you are best leadership or training company, like instructor or whatever. Like, how do you get that? Like, and I was talking with one dude, and like we were like, okay, this is most likely a corruption, anyways. Like, it's just a pointless piece of thing. And then in 1 week, someone called me. Hey, you have won an award. We went there. All of that news went to HR, so everyone started to understand that there is a company who's doing things differently. They are from ex-military guys, so it was like a new thing. So, and especially like the war was just started, so we were in the right timing. So we got everyone's attention, and from there on, we just continued on growing and growing and growing. Started to implement the same stuff.
So had you already left your day job at this point?
So I left my day job by the end of 2022.
Got it.
So 1 year in, I think that 2022 we ended up with like 70,000 as our overall revenue. So because we were able to, and like half of like 50,000 of that was the after September or something, because it's like continuously started going really, really high. And then he had to go away, and now I needed few guys because I was not able to do it alone anymore. Then there were some dudes coming to me, hey, I want to do the same stuff. So what do you want to do? I want to be an instructor. Okay, so these are the terms. These are we can't pay you any money, but you can do a lot of work if you want. There is a lot of opportunity here. We have seen Jocko in real life. So we were like, awesome dudes. Like we were already like interesting to other people in the military. So, and then we started doing that. And eventually what happened is that second year we had 450,000 as a revenue. So, and we never focused on any numbers. We're just doing the right things for the right reason. And the second time I went to the same conference where we had a classroom. So how I kind of got us to the main stage, because we didn't know anyone. And I gave an interview because there was like an interview of some of the speakers from the last year. They asked me to come to the office, and I said, okay, so now actually what we would like to do is that we would like to get on the main stage. Like, okay, so who is the decision maker here? And she led me down the stairs and showed the dude sitting in a corner who was doing something with an Excel. So I thought, okay, so I will go there, and they jump in, take just one step in and said, hey, we need to get on the main stage. Can I sit next to you for a minute? So, okay. So I kind of like went there and nuked it. Mm-hmm. Like just everything went out straight away. Then I sat down there, and he started saying like, hey, I don't know what you guys are doing, military stuff. We actually have here, like, we want to talk about peace and stuff like that. We don't want to really bring any military stuff in there. And they were like looking for prime minister to come and speak on the main stage. And like, what does a prime minister, no, but leadership. So, but I can see that, is this the schedule? Yes. So I can see that here is an open space. So could you just lead your mouse there and just write combat ready there? And that you just lead his mouse to that place and wrote combat ready. And that's how we got to the main stage. Just default aggressive, going there, saying what we need, and we got it. So, and that's how we kind of ended up doing everything. Just going there and asking or telling, I don't know how we did it, but we just pretty much default aggressive has been always the thing.
Yeah, that is obviously default aggressive, go in there and make things happen. And look, can you be too default aggressive? Yes, you can. It's called getting kicked out of buildings. It's called, hey, security.
Yeah.
But if you have a good attitude and you're like being professional with people, the guy probably saw something when you were talking to him, and there you go, making it happen.
So next year in business, the new guys that we recruited, I started going there together with them half a year. I kind of showed them how I do it. So I gave them piece by piece. Just talk 2 laws. Now talk 3 laws. Now talk 4 laws. And that's how we get them going. And by the end of the year, one of the dudes, he got awarded as a next trainer of the year. So we have been able to do that 2 years in a row. And just everything started to go. Now, what was one of the things is that we still didn't have any contract with you guys. So we were we had no PowerPoints, no nothing, no actual information. So everything what we actually teach was like what we saw from internet. And then, so pretty much what we did is like kind of like we got your word, but it's kind of like illegal in a way. But yeah, we were saying that we got it from there, but I mean, we just invented things. And then we just took a leap of faith. And then I decided that, hey, okay, this doesn't seem to go anywhere. And I just started treating you guys as a management board or board of the directors or whatever. And then I said, okay, every quarter I will start sending you sit reps, which you didn't ask. So just started sending those ones forward, sending. And at some point in the end of 2023, I think Lindy or someone.
Yeah, I think it was Lindy.
Yeah. In October or something like that, like, hey, now you have reached, like, you have become into our priority list over here, and we would like to now make it like official. And it's like, yes. Eventually, like 2 years we are there. Now we had a really, really hard conversation in terms of contract, because everyone's saying like it's really difficult to have contract with Americans, a lot of legal stuff, a lot of different terms. And our agreement was very simple. Like Lindy was saying what was expected from us. Like, these are the numbers. I said, no, we can't do it. We can do it with these numbers. She said, yes, okay. Then there was like some other similar stuff. I said, no, we can't do it. We can do this. Okay. And then in 1 week, sign. Where do we sign? Here. And it was done. And then next year, again, we were in a classroom, we were on the main stage, and now in January, the same event happened. It was a startup day. It's like a huge conference. And then we got your video of explaining that, Combat Ready is our new certified instructors or whatever. And that was on the main stage. Now everyone knew. It was like article in the newspaper and stuff like that.
So, you like that, Echo Charles?
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. And that's where like everything like went there. Like we just utilized, like we were like thinking, Martin, like, what do we have to do? We just have to do what's written in the book. And if you do things what's written in a book, you can't go wrong. And eventually, if you do the right things for the right reason, things will start happen. And that's how we got here.
Yeah. I liked when you were telling me yesterday, I think you were saying like, listen, you and Martin were saying, listen, we need to do what it says in the book. And if they do what they say they do in the book, we're going to be good to go.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we're good to go. I learned something, Echo Charles, in Hollywood.
Sure. Hollywood, hell yeah.
What I learned in Hollywood deals is when the principals want a deal to happen, it's going to happen. And the rest is just like people, they're going to make it happen.
Yeah, I gotcha.
But here, and so that's part one. Part two, one of my favorite things to do as a combat leader is I would just say do it. So like on the radio, like Leif would call up and be like, "Hey Jocko, we got another building. It's 2 blocks down. We saw some squirters coming out of that. We want to go hit that thing." Do it. And it was just like that was like such it's even just like a little bit better than execute. You say like at the beginning of an operation, it's cool. Look, is it cool? It's cool. But to have like some other branch plan be coming in with some explanation behind it, and to have the decentralized command where it's like, hey, we need to bump across. Hey, hey, Jocko, it's Leif. We got to move across this road. We got another vehicle. We want to inspect down here. I might have to blow the trunk open. Do it. It's just like, so good. And so like when these contracts is like, I get a long email like, hey, with the thing and the this and the that, and the response, do it.
I've experienced that one many times. Yeah, do it. And I gathered that same thing. Like, I see what you're doing is pretty freaking dope. So I get it and respect it.
And that's what we're doing. We're doing it.
Yeah.
Doing it.
But really, honestly, the seeing you guys in the decathlon on the battlefield, the FTX battlefield, was like, I was so freaking pumped that you guys were so squared away, because part of it was, like I said in the opening, sometimes I would watch and I'd be like, dude, is this too, like, am I crazy? Is this too hard for people to actually be able to do? Like, these people are going insane. Yeah. Like, you haven't been to FTX, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
Remember one of the OG Utah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. You see people going crazy. Like, I need 4 more guys over here now. And by the way, like, no one's gonna die. Or like, you totally freaking out. And these two guys were just like robots, just Terminator robots. And I was like, who the fuck are these guys? And it's like, oh, they're Estonian Special Operations Forces. They deployed to Afghanistan. I was like, oh, roger that. And I think actually JP was like, they use our principles. Something like, I don't know if that was what he gathered from the webpage or whatever, but JP's always like doing his research and stuff. So, but yeah, so you combine all those things together, which each one of those things was like doing the right things for the right reasons. And also I that's like one of the conversations I had with my team. I was like, hey, they could be teaching, total responsibility and that, and they're not. They're like, cool. And let's, like, these are the kind of people we want to work with. There's no, didn't you guys want me to go to Estonia?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, we said like, hey, can we, like, we had those kind of ambitions, of course, but we realized on the very first, in the beginning, that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, at some point, we'll make it happen. I'll probably do like a full European tour. Charles, we're gonna go start and end in Estonia.
Sure.
What up now? Yeah, back in the day, when I was at SEAL Team 2, get some. Deploying to Europe, and guys would deploy to Estonia, and like everyone loved Estonia. They thought it was like they were in heaven.
Yep.
And so, but I never went there, unfortunately. So at some point, we go into Estonia. We're gonna rock and roll. So how many instructors do you have now?
So we have about 7 instructors.
And then what's their qualification process look like? I guess you already went through it.
So yeah, I mean, we kind of changed it. So we have now belt system.
Okay.
White belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, black belt. Now everyone.
By the way, we have that idea has been a thing at Echelon Front.
Bro.
It's not a thing, but it has been. It was discussed.
Yeah.
I think I was probably the guy that was like, well, that's jiu-jitsu. I don't know, but we didn't do it. But that's
and we defined all of the belts, what they mean, and at the moment we changed it like a month ago. That's what we did, because we wanted to have a very specific way how we can actually like understand who is where, what is your way of moving forward. So at the moment, other than one person, everyone's white belt. And it's not easy to get the next belt. So it takes years, and it takes certain like modules that you can have. I mean, most of them, they like, because we had our own stuff, right? we were not like doing it specifically as you have been doing, and now as we have like trained together, we have now better understanding of how you actually teach those tools. So now we're just reorganizing all of those things, and now we are able to actually teach things specifically the way you do it, and we are much more precise. It's much more useful, because so far, I mean, our average score, because after every training, how we got here is like we ask feedback from customers, and like the average score, like in terms of numbers, is like 9 out of 10. So it's a good stuff, but it wasn't as practical as we wanted, or didn't have the fine tuning. Now we are fine tuned in, and now we have kind of like a blueprint, and it takes only like, I don't know, month or two for them to get to the blue belt. It takes another month to get to the brown belt. I don't know, will anyone ever get to the black belt? But definitely somewhere in the middle. So because we are able to because we have like a lot of people who have previous coaching experience and working with companies, and we have run like long-term programs already, but we just didn't have a system. So now we just established a standard, we established a system which we can just internally understand. So most of them are still able to go and execute with every customer, but it's just internally something to measure.
And you just came out and went through our first at Echelon Front, our first Train the Trainer program, where it was a 9-month program that you went through. Most of the 9 months was virtual, so you guys were doing calls and Zoom calls and giving briefs, learning briefs, and then I think there was a total of 10 people showed up here in San Diego to get certified. And yeah, it was pretty awesome, because it was like give your brief and get really good feedback, and everyone had already kind of built the brief where everyone gave a great brief. I told everyone today, it's like giving a brief is not an easy thing, and giving a brief with specific content is challenging, and then to give a brief with a lot of pressure where you know you're going to get picked apart, that breaks people. Yeah. And everyone from a bunch of different industries came in, stepped up and delivered an awesome job. And then we do like a hardcore Q&A murder board. Do you guys say the term murder board? Yeah.
We had it already in the NCO school. We had that for 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks of...
Yeah. If you want to be an instructor, like every NCO, every senior NCO, everyone who wants to be a senior NCO during that school, which is half year, you will have 2 weeks where you have to instruct. I know, here is Carl Gustav. Teach it. And then you get a specific template, which is like timed. You can spend 5 minutes on this. You have to say these 3 words. You have to provide an intent. You have to have an instruction. In the end of the course, you have to have a practical session. Like, it's very much laid out. And now you get like 3 topics, which you have no idea about. And then you have to precisely give it based on that template, and it has to be timed. And now the difference is that the murder board is full of the same dudes. So you get one squad, each one gets 3 lessons, and now for 2 weeks you're just grinding. And if you're murdering that guy, they will murder you. And most of the time, like the people who are the weakest, they get murdered the most, of course. Because people start asking so stupid questions, and then like that guy freezes, and then, no, that's not a pass anymore.
Oh.
So that's how we like roll. But that gives you like a really good like baseline.
Yep.
And I think that's where kind of the instructor skills came from. And as I was also explosives, I had to conduct, and that I trained other like people to be able to blow things up. So I had that experience from there. So dealing with safety and I had all the papers in terms of I learned how to do IEDs. I learned how to what's the word?
Unexploded ordnance.
Yeah, diffuse them.
Diffuse, yeah.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, and now if you start teaching those things, it's very basic in terms of, but we had so much like repetition.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is it makes you competent as an instructor. And that was the goal of this training program, this Train the Trainer program at Echelon Front. Now, most of the people are people that are coming from their company, and the purpose of this is to be able to be an internal trainer in your company. The only people that we took from that's going to go and do this training outside is just you and Lewis.
Yeah.
And Lewis is a character.
Absolutely.
Because here you are, Estonian Sof, and Lewis is, well, first of all, he lives in Estonia, but he's not Estonian. He's from Australia.
Yeah.
So he's from Australia, and his background is he was a comedian.
Yeah.
And he was a comedian, and then he ran like he brought. I guess there was no such thing as stand-up comedy in Estonia.
Yep.
And so he started stand-up comedy in Estonia, and then you talk to him, and it's like, oh, the way that he got that going and made it work was extreme ownership and the principles of combat leadership that we teach, which is such a great, like, you know, normally I'm like, oh, we work with all these different companies, you know, this oil company, construction company, finance company, insurance company. Now I'm going to be like stand-up comedy company, you know, like let's go full range of motion on this gig.
Yeah. And yeah, he like as he's putting it, like, yes, these principles also work on crazy people. So they work on everywhere. It doesn't matter where you are. So that's why we're able to we have been able to influence so many companies already. Our government, we're working with ministries, we are working with kindergartens, we are working with schools, we are working with the Defense League, we are working with military again. Like, I mean, startups, hundreds of companies have gone through the training, and I mean, these principles just work.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Speaking of kids, you guys now you guys have your own publishing company.
Yeah.
Right? And you bought the rights for a kid's book called Way of the Warrior Kid. You heard of that one, Echo Charles?
Hell yeah.
And you guys just released the Way of the Warrior Kid book 1.
Yeah, it's going to be released on November, in the end of November.
Okay.
Before Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of which, I think this might have happened. I think you just emailed me a little while ago and said, hey, we're
modifying or whatever.
Can we modify the Way of the Warrior Kid so that Estonian kids aren't trying to memorize American presidents and the Gettysburg Address, because that doesn't really make sense in Estonia. And I believe, I'll have to check, I believe that I replied, do it. I'm pretty sure. I'm going to check.
It was like 2 words or something, but it was along those lines, yes.
Yeah, if it's do it, I'm going to be pretty pumped.
Yeah, and that's how we made that happen. Like, when we saw that, we have a blueprint. You have created a blueprint. That's how it is. That's how simple it is. Just do those things, what you've been doing here. Do that in your country, do that in Europe, wherever. And then I love the story of how Jocko Publishing got published, like how that company came to life. That's a good story. And then
watch this.
Yeah, watch this. Yeah, and then we initially we wanted to start giving out that book. Like, I don't know. We actually asked another publishing company in Estonia who has came out with these books, and hey, there is also a kids book that maybe we would like to that would be useful for kids. And then they were kind of looking into it, but then 2,500 was, I think, the fee, and then there was 8%, but they wanted to have it it was 10% fee, but they wanted 8%, so they were not. We are not able to make money. So okay, fuck it then.
Watch this.
And then it took another half year, and then I heard that you're making a movie.
Yeah.
And I was like,
better get in on this now.
Strategically, we have to do it now. That's what we did. Dude. Yeah.
That was a good move. The movie is going to be, the movie is wrapped. Echo Charles, you heard of that before?
Yeah, I heard of that.
That's a Hollywood thing.
Yes, sir, it is.
See, I got to say Hollywood words for Echo Charles to make sure that he knows that I'm aware that I said a Hollywood thing. Because if I was just be like, yeah, well, we wrapped filming on that project.
Poser.
But it is kind of a big deal to wrap, and I'll tell you why, because until you have it filmed, anything can go wrong. There can be a strike, someone can get hurt, there can be some crazy lawsuit. You just don't know what can happen. And it's the difference between having it wrapped and not having it wrapped is the difference between graduating from SEAL training and being somewhere in the pipeline, in which there's no freaking guarantee that that's happening. So that's pretty good to be wrapped, and it's a smart move that you formed your own publishing company, bought the rights, and now when that movie comes out, you're going to sell a bunch of books.
Absolutely. That's the point. And the most importantly, we're able to impact some of the youth.
100%.
And actually, like we have like this youth organizations under Defense League, like, I don't know, Scouts, Boy Scouts and girls and stuff like that. They were one of the first customers in terms of who we went and practiced. Because like, okay, like we get like 100 euros and we have a whole weekend to test out these principles, how we should teach it. And that's what we did constantly. We spread the information to the youth. So we got our repetition in and then, okay, this works, this doesn't work at all. So we tested it on kids and kids loved it. So definitely we have been able to impact a ton. And we have also been able to go to Balkans. Initially we thought that, okay, because there was a company in Estonia who had subsidiary companies outside from Estonia, and we did one gig with them, and they said, okay, we have 4 subsidiary companies in the Balkans. We want them to do it again, to do the same thing. So we went to the first company. We thought, okay, now it's Estonians coming to Balkans. Like there's a cultural difference most likely or stuff like that. So we did one first training. It was much better than Estonian because the Estonians are like stone people. They have zero emotions. They don't ask any questions. They're like, not very social people. I'm not the normal Estonian anymore. So we went there, and now the first month was their best revenue ever. Like after the first month, now the HQ, everyone, let's go.
That's the story that's been repeated over and over again in Echelon Front. Like some random person in one of the departments of the company scrounges together some money that he saved from some other project that they were doing, brings in Echelon Front, and like the growth is there, and the next thing you know, we're working with the whole company, and that's just happened over and over and over again. So the fact that you're out there in Europe being able to make this happen, and again, you know, it's like we say in the book, Extreme Ownership, these are not new random, like these are not principles that we created from dust. These are things that we learned that were passed down to us, and they've been tested over and over and over and over again. So it really isn't that big of a surprise when a company hears the principles, takes the principles, implements the principles, and they have their best profit, their best engagement with their teams, like the whole thing. So it's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What we say that if it, like we try to be an example, because in our opinion, like the best way how to like change our culture in Estonia is to be a good citizen and do a great job and being a demonstrator of those principles. Now, I've always said, like, if we will fail, all of what we have taught you doesn't work. And that's why we initially with Martin, like, okay, every business book says that it should be like 51-49. It shouldn't be 50-50 because there will be a dispute and there will be a problem. And we were like, if we are not able to figure out a problem, then we are not supposed to do it anyways. So let's put it in a situation where we have to do it in the right way. If not, then it doesn't matter what we speak. It doesn't work anyway. So don't listen to us. Just look what we're doing. And we are moving in the right direction. We are doing the right things and things happen.
And what's the ultimate goal?
Well, the ultimate goal is, first of all, to change Estonian culture, help people, help the youth, because, I mean, we are dealing with symptoms, which is the adults. We have to help the root cause. I mean, there's so much. If I would have, while I was in the school, if there was someone who actually would have given me and teach me some of those principles, I would have been way better of prepared for life. So what we want to do, we want to strengthen our own culture. We want to have a nice place where we can live. And also we have to help our neighbors. So we want to make Europe great.
I like it, man.
Yeah. So that's what we do. And
Does that get us up to speed?
Yeah, I think so.
So for people to find you, you guys are at www.conqueror combatready.ee. You're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all those at Combat Ready. You've got your personal Instagram, which you are very apparently proud of. Remo, so it's Remo Ojaste. Ojaste?
Yes.
Dude, I'm working.
I'm gonna just say yes.
Yeah. And that's spelled RemoOjaste. That's where people can find you.
I think Louis wanted me to say that the web page should be europe.combatready.ee because we are, upgrading it.
Oh, okay.
But you can find it from both places. So
what's Louis's Instagram? People want to check out his.
It's Louis Zezeran.
At Louis Zezeran?
Yeah.
And does he do funny stuff on there? Does he do leadership stuff on there?
Yeah, he's always funny.
You always learn stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like when we teach these classes, you're always learning stuff. You and I learned from you about, decentralized command and the expansion of simplicity and the expansion of relationships, and which is something that I've talked about before. But you were like, hey, you know what decentralized gives you is a culmination of, with all these things, time.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, excellent. So I learned that from you. It was excellent to learn. And then from Louis, what I learned is Echo Charles. Louis is a comedian sitting over in the corner right now. And he was given his brief, and he said, hey, when there's a technique called the read back. If I want to make sure that Echo Charles, hey, we need to show up tomorrow at 7:00 in the morning. We need to be prepped to record a podcast with 4 people. Can you, just to make sure I made that clear, can you give me a read back? And you say, yep, we're showing up at 7:00 tomorrow, recording a podcast. Got to be ready for 4 people. Okay, cool. Boom. That's called a read back. So what Louis pointed out was that you can use comedians use readbacks because it gives you a second to think. So if a heckler calls out, and this is what I did. So I was like, hey guys, this is a technique that he used. And Dave Burke was sitting there.
Good deal, Dave.
Yeah, you know it. And so I said, like, Dave, heckle me. And Dave's like, he's kind of like, what? And I said, like, heckle me, like, say, something negative or whatever. And he goes like, yeah, who cut your hair? And I go, and so I was like, oh, read back. Because I got to think of a comeback, right? Who cut your hair? And I said, who cut my hair? Your mother when she left my apartment, boy. But it's true, like that's a little technique, and it's a technique that you use as a comedian. It could be a technique that you use as a leader, not just to make sure that you've confirmed someone's comprehension of your information, but if you do something I don't expect, I can actually give you a read back to give me some time to think and to clarify that I understand what you're talking about, by the way. And he gave a whole note about it where you can the read back itself can be funny. I can read back your thing.
I actually noticed that when comedians do what we call crowd work, right? They do the read back, and how they use that is they'll read it back, but the way they do it to make it sound funny, they'll just adjust their tone. Yeah. And I'll be like, one time I'd be like, hey, wait, that sounded funny, but it wasn't funny. That's when I noticed it. He was like, he'll be like, he's like, what's your name? Oh, John. Right in the crowd, and he'll be like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a manager at a tech company. A manager and he'd look around at a tech company. Everyone would start laughing. I was like, wait, that wasn't really, see what I'm saying? But I saw, I know what he's doing. Yeah. He's buying time so he can think of his jokes. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's real subtle, but yeah, you're right. That's good. That's very smart.
Yeah, interesting enough, we had a discussion with Louis, and read back is a form of detachment.
Yeah, that's true too.
And also it's a form of prioritization, because if you give me 100 words and I give you back 10 words, what is that? Yep. I'm giving you the priority words
that you received.
Yeah, exactly.
And are they correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are all good points. Learning all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so what's the new website? Say it one more time.
Europe.combatready.ee.
Okay. Cool.
Sure. You can find us from the internet, I'm sure.
True. Echo Charles, do you have any questions?
Yeah, one question. What's the most you ever won in a single poker game?
I won 15,000 euros.
What's the euros to dollars scenario? Similar? Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay. Yeah.
And it was 200,000 kroons.
Did you walk away?
You lost it.
So what I did, it was that was in I was, I don't know, 18.
Oh, damn.
And that's what I won. And what I did with that money, of course, nothing useful.
I think I won like $2,700 in Tahoe.
Hell yeah.
And walked away like a boss and had like a kick-ass weekend. I was 22 years old. Like, let's go. I mean, how much money? That was like a month's worth of pay.
Bro, that's a lot.
Back in the day. And I was like, I walked away like a boss. Yeah. You're like, you sure you don't want to play one more hand? Like, no, dude, I'm out.
The funniest way how I won it was like usually like you should be like super concentrated, right? So what I was doing is that I had won a satellite ticket, I don't know, for $10. The buy-in was 100 or something. So it was like 1,000 people tournament. So I had this set up on laptop. I had 2.5 men running the Div series. On this screen, it was America's Army. I was playing that game. And then in this corner, I had the poker like table open. So I was actually like doing 4 things at the same time, and I drink Jim Beam at the same time. So in the end of like, I don't know, 5 hours, it's like, okay, now there's only 25 people left. I recognize that. So then I said, okay, now, sorry, American Army friends, I now have to go and concentrate on winning some money. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, I have been playing poker at the same time, so I'm here. Like, I already have 1,000, and I have a possibility to win like 25, but I eventually got second place. And they were like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, so yeah, you can download that app into your computer, and as we are already having communication, I can start commenting you what I'm doing on that poker table." And I think that was the only thing what saved me, because I had drank a lot already. So now I had to pretty much go every move and teach them, which made me cautious, disciplined, and eventually I got second place, I got some money, and I continued the poor lifestyle.
There you go. Anything else, Echo Charles? Any other questions?
No, that's it. Really good stuff.
All right. Remo, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, thank you for writing those things. Thank you for living those principles, because if you didn't, like, none of this would have worked. So thank you for telling me what to do in your book. So yeah, I mean, it's been an awesome ride. And we're gonna continue doing that. We will leave, or we will, I'm just 35. Mm-hmm. So for the next 30 years, we will conquer Europe.
That's what I like to hear, man. Freaking outstanding. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing your lessons learned. Obviously, thanks for your service, and thanks to your countrymen for their service, supporting our allied troops and fighting alongside us. And thanks for what you're doing today. You know, taking these principles, you were in a cush job and you took a risk, and you are now making this happen. You're going to help kids. You're going to help parents. You're going to help adults. You're going to help Estonia. You're going to help Europe.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. Keep getting after it, man. And with that, Remo has left the building. Good to have some Estonian Special Operations Forces in the building.
Yep, agree. There was a quick segment where he was talking about, he gave a brief before they started combat ready. He gave a brief, and he was like, hey, that was the guy who, maybe the client, the guy who was giving the brief for. He was like, hey, that was really good. And he was like, oh, I don't know what I said, but cool. Remember that part?
Yeah.
Here's what I think. Here's what I suspect. I think he knew what he said. He was being funny and kind of humble. I think he knew what he said. I think he was just surprised that he was just like, hey, I just said what I thought I knew, which is nothing. When you compare it to, like, when the real experts roll up and they're using jargon, they're doing the whole thing, the theatrics and the big words and the cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds good, but I think we all get used to that after a while, right? Where it sounds good, but it's like, man, I don't know, man, I should have took more notes maybe. I don't know, kind of a thing, but cool, it sounded good. And then when you get someone who just delivers it super simple and subsequently easy to understand, you're like, bro, that was freaking great. Like, I remember everything you said, and it was so groundbreaking because it all landed on my brain, So now I know.
And another component there is it was his first keynote in English. So what does that make you do?
Simplify.
Yeah, you see, look at you.
Yeah, man, I noticed.
Yeah, it's a short brief, but everything's really simple, clear, and concise. Landing, not using any big words, but using the good words that actually work.
Yeah.
And the thing that he mentioned quite a few times, which is awesome, is like, well, the content is it's the truth. Yeah. You know, as I said in that thing the other day, it's like, oh, why is the book Extreme Ownership popular? It's because it's the truth. And people read it and they go, yeah. You know, they're like, it's kind of indisputable. And it's written in a way that people understand and go, yeah, I can understand this.
Brad, it's so true because let's face it, there's a lot of books and just speeches and keynotes and, experts with opinions who, instead of just sheer like undisputable truth, they'll say like real inflammatory things that have some level of truth, but there's just a lot more to it. But they like to say real inflammatory for the attention, the front end attention kind of a thing. But then, a lot of times it doesn't last. Or you build a reputation for just saying inflammatory things that have like many levels and areas of dispute, we'll say. And then, it doesn't tend to last, I think.
Oh, I like it. And speaking of inflammatory,
sure,
we want inflammation to go down.
We don't like inflammation.
A lot of that is based on like what you're putting into your body.
Sure.
Let's get the good stuff in our body. JockoFuel.com. Go check it out. We got everything that you need. We got Molk protein. We got Hydrate. We got greens. We got Joint Warfare. We got Super Krill. We got vitamin D3. We got coal. We got everything that you need. We got energy drinks even. We got hydration. And it's all clean and good for you. So go to JockoFuel.com, get some. Also, we're at Wawa, Vitamin Shop, GNC, Military Commissaries, AFES, Hannaford, Dash Stores, Wakefern, ShopRite, HEB, Meijer, Wegmans, Harris Teeter, Lifetime Fitness, Shields, small gyms everywhere, jiu-jitsu gyms, CrossFit, and, by the way, Walmart. Yeah, we got Walmart. I just was down at Walmart doing some burpees with the troops.
Multiple Walmarts.
Yeah, we did San Diego so far. We did Bentonville. So we're going to get around to some other Walmarts as well. We're working it. So that's what's happening. JockoFuel.com. Check out the goods. You need the good stuff to fuel your life, your existence. Go get some. Also, American-made products. OriginUSA.com. OriginUSA.com. Look, you heard what it was like. Even the remnants of communism is terrible. It's terrible. Just the remnants of it. Slave labor. You have to fight against that. Well, do you want to pick up a gun and go get on the line? Maybe you do. I kind of do. But let me tell you something else. If you don't want to get a gun and get on the line, go to OriginUSA.com. Get some American-made jeans. Get some American-made hunt gear. Get some American-made jiu-jitsu gis, rash guards, boots. Everything that you need, not made in a oppressive, tyrannical state where the people live as slaves, but made right here in America by freedom. OriginUSA.com. Go check it out.
Sure. Side note, Origin USA newest product, one of the newest products, jiu-jitsu belts.
Yeah.
You noticed that one? Huh?
I didn't get one yet.
No,
I kind of need one too.
Yes, you do need one.
My belt's kind of old. And I've always felt like I'm just going to have that belt forever. Yeah. But it's kind of getting ridiculous.
Yeah, plus the Origin has one. So it's kind of like, look, you're going to hold on to your old one. I get it, bro. It has a place in your, in your life or whatever, but let's face it. What, you don't have an Origin belt?
Good point. All right.
Sucker.
All right. Maybe we have to get Hannah a purple belchy. But she got Seth's purple belt.
Yeah, she got that special one too. Yeah. But multiple belts, there's nothing wrong with that.
Oh.
You seem sane though.
I never really kind of walked down that road before.
You don't just collect belts. And
I know that people do that, but I've not done that. Yeah. I have had one belt per rank.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Now that I'm thinking of it. But not anymore.
And somehow I don't have them anymore. My blue belt was awesome because I had it for so long. Yeah. And I had done like old rigger type stuff for it with the sewing machine. I sewed the black stripe on there and I sewed it on myself and it was like mega durable, infantry quality. But if you need a belt, OriginUSA.com. Go get some.
How can you not? It's true. Also, Jocko the store called Jocko Store. It's where you can represent discipline equals freedom. Shirts. We got our shirts on there, hats, hoodies, some shorts on there. Socks. I know I've been talking about socks for a long time, but this time I mean it. And you'll have them.
Wait, this time because they haven't been there before? It was only word? It was only talk?
Yeah, you know how you're setting things up for the
socks. What do they say on them?
Release. Discipline equals freedom.
Would it be weird to like a person like me to wear those socks?
No. In fact, I designed and created those socks with you in my mind because you have those lame brain freaking socks that you wear. So if I give you these, actually you can't wear them for working out. I guess you could if you want.
But it'd be a waste.
But that's not what they're for.
What are they for?
Looking good and freaking representing. See what I'm saying? You know, sometimes at the airport,
not looking good and representing in the squat rack.
Oh, we are there for sure, but head to toe. I'm talking about from head to toe. Look, you're doing great.
Are we not doing that? We not got some Origin RTX on?
What, socks?
No.
Okay.
Upper body.
Okay. You're
lower body.
You're doing good hoodie? From head down to the waist or shorts or whatever. But yeah, the toe part, you're not representing, bro. You're looking like you're looking. Put it that way. Anyway, but we have some socks. They're coming. They'll be in time for Christmas. The holidays, the whole deal. The whole deal. It's gonna be ready.
All right.
See what I'm saying? Anyway, Jocko Store. Also, Short Locker subscription.
You making a cool one for Christmas? I got some ideas I need to talk to you about.
Okay, good.
We'll
yeah. Jocko's creativity. Yeah. Nonetheless, new design every month. Boom, sign up. Subscription scenario. It's called the Short Locker. It is on JockoStore.com.
Check it out. Also, PrimalBeef.com and ColoradoCraftBeef.com. We're making the best steak in the country delivered to your door. If you need steak, if you need ground beef, if you need meat sticks, go check it out. PrimalBeef.com, ColoradoCraftBeef.com. Freaking outstanding people, outstanding companies, outstanding steak. Let's go. Subscribe to the podcast. Also subscribe to Jocko Underground. Also subscribe to our YouTube channels. Check out FlipsideCanvas.com. Dakota Meyer baking cool stuff to hang on your wall. We got a bunch of books. I've written them. I've written a bunch of books for some reason. You heard about one today, Extreme Ownership. I wrote another one called Leadership Strategy and Tactics. I wrote another one called Final Spin. I wrote another one called Dichotomy of Leadership. I wrote a bunch of kids' books, including one that is available in the Estonian language very soon. So check all those out. You know where to find them. Speaking of Echelon Front, you heard a lot about it today. We solve problems through leadership. Go to echelonfront.com for details on that. Also, we have an online training academy, which we received amazing feedback from Remo. Unsolicited feedback, just to tighten things up. Sure. You know, just poured into us with value. He felt bad about that. He brought it up a few times. I honestly never saw him, and I'm sure it was good feedback, and it probably got implemented. Yeah. Like, probably someone on the front lines was like, oh, cool, we'll make that different font or whatever. Yeah. I'm sure that. No, because I don't know what they were saying, but. Yeah, fully. But you're the thing, and which I think he was kind of alluding to, kind of hardcore, that it's kind of what you say, where it's like, bro, you can remember that one. I think it was episode, I'm pretty sure it's 184, maybe 164. Either way, we're talking about how like information, feedback, a plan or whatever. When you're trying to convey a message, you can't just beam it. You can't shove it down their throat. You got to be like a quarterback. Remember my quarterback friend, Tim Carey, where he was perfect. This other guy, he would just jam it to show everyone how freaking hard and fast he can throw. He's jamming us up, hurting our fingers and everything. Tim Carey he doesn't lob it. He lob it and he puts it perfectly. Wherever you are, that's where he hits it. Is it getting picked off because he's throwing a little bit more gentle? No. See, that's all part of the delivery. He knows when he has to beam it, 100%, or gun it or whatever. See what I'm saying? But anyway, I think that's what beam's Remo a funny word, isn't it? It's like back in the day when you were a little kid, like I got beamed in dodgeball. It's true. It's like a word, term? But it's funny. You caught yourself, you like beam or through, but you kind of like were trying to. It may have fallen out of parlance of our time, right? Yeah. Where now it's like people don't say beam anymore, but we're bringing it back. Oh, big time. Well, in football, you'd say beam. Like if, let's say, it'd be more like a funny clown scenario. Let's say the receiver ran the wrong route. And you beam him. Right, and you throw it to him like you gun it to him, and it just hits him in the back or the shoulder. Or he looks too late, and it hits him in the head or whatever. It's like, it's like you got beamed. So it's still a football thing. Well, yeah, big time. But gunning it means like I freaking zipped it as hard as I can. Sometimes it's appropriate, but sometimes it's not. You can't just be gunning in freaking criticism for the academy. See what I'm saying? And I think that he felt like he might have been doing that like after the fact. You know? That's what I think. Yeah, he felt like he beamed it. Beamed like too much of it. Gunned it, beamed it, the whole deal. Hey, I'm real hard to offend. It's going to take a lot more than that. But anyways, what they gave us critique for, which we completely took on board and modified stuff, the Academy, extremeownership.com, go check it out. And that's all part of Echelon Front. You heard these principles that we talked about today. They help so many companies, so many people. Go to echelonfront.com, check it out. Go to extremeownership.com, check it out. We're here. We got these lessons. We learned them. We captured them. We want to pass them on to you. We want your life and your team and your family to be in a better situation. So go check them out. And if you want to help service members, active and retired, you want to help their families, you want to help Gold Star families, check out Mark Lee's mom, Mama Lee. She's got an amazing charity organization. If you want to donate or you want to get involved, go to americasmightywarriors.org. And also don't forget about heroesandhorses.org. That's where Micah Fink is bringing our veterans up into the mountains to relocate their soul. And he's doing a great job. So check that one out. And also Jimmy May has got an amazing organization, beyondthebrotherhood.org. Check that out. He is helping SEALs transition out of the military and into the civilian sector and doing a great job. If you want to connect with us on the interwebs, rewind and listen to whatever that website is that they said for Combat Ready. Also, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Combat Ready EE, at Combat Ready EE.
The website is europe.combatready.ee.
Okay, there you go. Thank you. I didn't take that note. Thank you, bro. Look at you, cover and move all day. Cover and move. And Remo is Remo Ojaste. It's REMOOJASTE. For us, I'm at Jocko.com. All the stuff's there. Jocko.com. Also on social media, I'm at Jocko Willink. Echo's at Echo Charles. Just be careful when you go on there. You don't want to have your entire life freaking disappear without even thinking about it while you doom scroll. Right on. And thanks once again to Remo Ojaste for everything you did in the past, your past service, and your continued service helping people become better leaders and better humans in business and life. And thanks to all the military around the world, especially our allies, and a solemn salute to our Estonian brothers. Thank you for the sacrifices you made to defend freedom around the globe. Also here at home, thanks to our police, law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, EMTs, dispatchers, correctional officers, border patrol, Secret Service, all other first responders. Thank you for keeping us safe. And to everyone else out there, like Remo Ojaste says, like Combat Ready teaches, use the principles. Use the principles. They're free. This is no big secret. They're free. You don't have to pay anything for them. You just listen to them right now. Cover, move, simple, prioritize, and execute, decentralized command. Use them. Be default aggressive, take extreme ownership. There you go. They work. Use them. And that's all we've got for tonight. Until next time, this is Echo and Jocko.